Imagine respawning as a video game's ultimate bad guy, only to realize your actual destiny is ending up totally broke and starving on the streets. Our guy decides to completely flip the script and ditch the evil route. But his terrifying dad had a seriously twisted agenda in mind instead. So, Moon secretly grinds his stats daily, hoping to build enough physical strength to finally smash his way out of there. Because honestly, if he fails to scrub that nasty villain label off his profile, it is literally game over for him permanently. So, if you are wondering why these maids are acting so wild and how they got so snatched and powerful, we gotta rewind to the very beginning. It all kicks off at the Campbell estate. Our main guy literally wakes up in a massive canopy bed, flashing back to a nasty car crash. Off to a stellar start. He is completely freaking out, trying to figure out if he just time traveled or actually wrecked his ride. Looking around, the vibes are totally off. We are talking crazy expensive vintage furniture and wild old-school Western aesthetics everywhere. Catching his reflection makes him totally panic because a whole different dude is staring back. But hey, he instantly chills out once he realizes he is insanely gorgeous now. Putting the pieces together, the whole getting wrecked by a truck and waking up in an alternate dimension thing makes perfect sense to his massive anime nerd brain. Seriously guys, truck-kun'd is just working overtime out here. To prove he is not just dreaming all this up, he decides on a reality check. Trying to look super edgy, he grabs a blade and goes for a dramatic little finger prick. Cue the instant screeching, because that blade was insanely sharp and he sliced way too deep. Literally any other way to check, and bro went with a weapon. We get a quick flashback showing his new identity totally messed up by insulting the royals. They stripped his fancy title, kicking him out to live like street trash forever. The big bosses basically banish him, warning that if he ever shows his face again, he is completely finished. Snapping back to reality, our guy connects the dots. He is actually stuck inside some old novel he binge-read ages ago. Worse, he is playing the blonde, brain-dead bad guy whose only job is bothering the actual main character. Flashback time to our dude's super boring past life. Every single night, he would obsess over this one specific web novel, which happens to be his current reality. She literally drags him down the hall while two nosy maids whisper about keeping tabs on their sketchy behavior. Cut to the bedroom. He tries pouring some wine, but she totally shuts down the alcohol idea. Now our guy is sweating, trying to sneak this potion into her drink. Since booze is out, he pivots to black tea. She agrees, though her guard is definitely up. Meanwhile, he's brewing it with the most suspiciously massive grin ever. She's low-key weirded out by how thrilled he is over hot water, completely missing him spiking the cups. She pops up checking on the holdup, and he stammers out that it's almost ready, begging her to just chill on the couch. She backs off, barely missing him getting totally busted. Thank goodness half the sketchy liquid just splattered across the floor. Shrugging it off, he dumps the rest in and serves it up. Celia immediately glares at the cup like it's radioactive. Why is it literally neon red? She asks. He scrambles, making up lore about a rare family crop, prompting her to dare him to taste it first. She hits him with a mocking smirk. Playing it cool, he insists she's being paranoid and goes in for a sip. Right before it hits his lips, she snatches his mug, forces a trade, and downs it. Almost instantly, the weird vibes hit her. She gasps his name and totally passes out. Plot twist. He actually spiked both drinks anyway. Time to set the stage. Since the main heroine is supposed to crash this exact moment, he poses Celia so it looks super scandalous. To really sell the drama, he randomly rips off his shirt and just hangs out. Minutes tick by. He checks the time and panic sets in. Ariel is officially a no-show. Then it hits him in the canon plot. Ariel only wandered over here because someone trashed her dress with tea. She was supposed to hear weird sounds from his room and snoop. The catch? The clumsy maid who spilled the tea was Noel. Because he gave Noel the night off, he completely wrecked the timeline. Ariel is never showing up. Suddenly, Celia groans. Turns out, the sleeping draft was a massive mistake. The room's vibe gets terrifyingly icy right before she absolutely decks him. Celia is literally ready to throw hands. He's panicking, screaming that this is all just a huge, chaotic mix-up. But wait, he notices she isn't actually out for blood. Instead, she's craving something wildly different. He shrieks for backup, but she tackles him flawlessly. Jump cut to somewhere else in the estate. Ariel is rocking a nasty stain. Her bestie Leah totally dumped a drink on her. While wandering the halls for a restroom, she bumps right into Anne. Anne strictly warns her that this wing is totally off limits. When Ariel pushes for details, Anne just smirks and says it's classified. Still, seeing the messy fit, Anne casually waves her hand, and magically dry cleans it. Ariel is completely blown away by the handy spell. Anne wraps up their little chat, dropping a hint that some elite tier cake is dropping in the dining room soon. Did someone say cake? Ariel is obsessed. She says thanks and literally sprints for dessert, while Anne flashes a super creepy goodbye wave. Ariel gets a brief, chilling feeling that Anne was hiding a murder scene or something, but honestly, she minds her own business. Priorities, right? That cake won't eat itself. Meanwhile, cut to a pair of maids spilling some major tea in the shadows. They're on a super strict deadline. One whispers that the estate's magical security system just picked up some seriously sketchy vibes. A couple getting up to zero good in a locked room. Naturally, their minds immediately jump straight into the gutter. Flashback to our boy, absolutely demolished on the carpet. The brawl ended, but his nightmare is just starting. He is so done for. She is gearing up for the final blow, and he desperately needs a distraction before he meets his maker. Cue the ultimate acting performance, crying about how he took her for granted and weeping for just one more shot at love. That line almost gets him murdered on the spot. Realizing what a total creep he is, she ignores his pathetic defenses and absolutely snaps. She ruthlessly fires back that if he actually gave a damn, he would have stepped up and acted like a real man. She honestly could have caught feelings for the guy, but he totally wrecked it. Slipping something toxic into her drink was just so low and seriously gross. There's no bouncing back from that mess. He attempts a sorry, but Celia completely shuts him down. Causing him pain wasn't the goal, yet her hands were tied. Right then, a sudden tapping interrupts them, snatching his collar. She orders him to handle the visitor and make absolutely sure they stay out. Releasing her grip, she promises to hold off on dealing with him until this is handled. Moon frantically throws some clothes on to check it out. Sweating like his life is on the line, he unlatches it, anticipating Ariel. Instead, a fresh staff member is standing there holding treats to sweeten their private evening. He waves the girl inside, directing her to set the tray down. Something feels super off, though. Anne specifically mentioned the rookies were strictly meant for the feast, absolutely banned from roaming the halls. In a flash, the servant lunges straight for Celia. It hits Moon, she's a hired blade, and he's totally off her radar. A massive crash shakes the walls as Celia demands to know if her sibling ordered this hit. The intruder stays tight-lipped about her boss, simply stating, "You're done." A blinding flash of destructive energy erupts, and the attacker jumps back, fully convinced the job is finished. Wrong move, Celia throws up a massive shield and hits back flawlessly. Moon knows sticking around means his own game over. He bolts for the exit, only to find the handle magically fused shut. Panicking over how they breached the estate, it dawns on him that hiring those fresh workers created a massive blind spot. While he's spiraling, the brawl turns brutal. The plot he knew is totally gone. The script is flipped. It clicks for Celia that this intruder brought backup, while the attacker finally respects her target's skills. Celia offers her a chance to walk away breathing. Chuckling darkly, the trespasser admits she was just running out the clock. Right on cue, a massive spell flares up outdoors. The enemy whips out a twisted vial brewed from pure innocence, a dark rite known as the ultimate air tribute. Before she can strike, an invisible force slams Celia into the plaster. Miraculously, she's still hanging on. The shadow worker closes in to finish it off, while Celia desperately brandishes a hidden dagger to block. It's painfully obvious the royal is running on fumes. Drained of her core energy, spelling is impossible. One more hit will shatter her. Yet, despite being battered, she stands her ground, fierce and unyielding. The striker charges in for the blackout. Out of nowhere, Moon throws himself in the crossfire. The infamous air absorbs the devastating strike, leaving both of them completely stunned. Even though the invader previously warned him to scram since he was a bystander, he couldn't just sit back and watch her get wrecked. Screaming at the top of his lungs, "Don't just stand there, hit back." As the attacker lifts her weapon to end him, Celia pushes past her limits and lands a critical blow on their foe. Moon collapses hard. Celia demands to know if he orchestrated the hit, but he denies it, claiming he's honestly okay with fading away here. Just minutes prior, she had roasted him for not stepping up. Well, look who's playing the hero now. Dropping to her knees, she warns him that checking out now leaves zero room for do-overs. He barely croaks out a whisper before his eyes shut for good. She promises to pass on his final message to his folks, but our guy weakly shakes his head. He mutters that since he was basically a walking headache anyway, there's literally no point in bringing it up. But if he absolutely had to drop a parting thought, it'd just be an apology and a confession of his crush on her. His grip totally gives out. Celia totally rejects the idea of him sacrificing himself for her sake. That ending just isn't an option. She makes up her mind to resurrect him somehow, though she's definitely not forgiving him yet. Cut to Moon, completely bare in a massive, empty nothingness. The total blankness freaks him out, making him question if the afterlife is literally just quiet static. While he's overthinking his choices, that familiar, dark, violet aura starts swirling around his body again. Panic sets in right as bizarre glowing text starts popping up in thin air. Stats flash by 50% ego, 99% envy, and more weird bars. He's totally clueless about what's happening. A magical tome flips open, displaying an edgy motivational quote. He just rolls his eyes, thinking it could have shown up when he actually needed saving. Suddenly, the pages start sucking him in like a vacuum. The view shifts entirely, dropping us straight into Belrand. We catch the backup operative sprinting away, fully regretting not taking Moon out the second she had the chance. Without warning, a massive silhouette blocks her path, radiating an insane energy marked with a roaring feline crest. Enter Campbell, our boy's dad. He lays down the law. Nobody touches his kid, and this stunt is never happening again. The fugitive instantly knows her run is over for good. Meanwhile, the camera pans back to the bedroom. He finally blinks awake to find Anne right next to his bed, looking super relieved but totally stressed out. She asks how he is doing. He brushes it off, saying he just needs a bathroom break and no doctors are necessary. But the second he tries standing up, a crazy sharp pain hits his chest. Anne quickly catches him, since he is just so incredibly weak. She insists it is her job to help out and points out a bedside urinal. Plus, she had already been nursing him for days. She handled his bandages, gave him miss, and kept him alive. She basically offers to help him undress. He gets super awkward, insisting he can handle his own pants and just needs a lift to the bathroom. Anne nods and practically scoops him up like a toddler, totally dead set on keeping him safe. Inside the bathroom, he begs for some privacy, but Anne argues she has to guard him 24/7. He tells her to chill out. Finally, he shuts the door, leaving her quiet outside. Back in bed later, he asks how long he was knocked out. 3 whole days, Anne says. They patched up his injuries the exact night he got attacked. Princess Celia literally called in the Empire's top physician. He bled out so badly that he stayed out cold for days. He wonders if Celia left any messages. Anne admits the princess did not say a word directly to him. He feels totally relieved until Anne mentions that Celia actually talked to the king. Word is the hitman was actually hunting Celia, hired by underground market thugs who wanted her dead for ages. The king absolutely lost it, commanding his army to raid the black market and wipe out everyone involved. Even though the ambush happened at the Campbell estate, his family walked away completely fine. His dad was bracing for royal punishment, but got lucky. Every noble house is getting investigated right now, except the Campbells. He begs Anne to slow down and say that again, because his brain is just totally fried. Anne leans in, sounding super shady, asking if he and Celia hooked up or did anything weird that night. He instantly shoots that down, joking that he would literally get publicly executed if he ever tried pulling a stunt like that. Anne totally agrees that he would die. Then she pivots and bosses him into drinking his meds. Gulping the nasty stuff makes him gag, though Anne swears the gross feeling is just the formula kicking in. It was supposed to help him build back all that lost blood fast. Anne bossed him into drinking it like she was the one in charge. Just outside, a few spying maids totally noticed how annoyed Moon looked. One girl whispered about how much he despised bitter stuff, adding he used to literally whip whoever served him gross meals. Another maid panicked, saying they absolutely needed to snitch to his mom if things went south, but he overheard the whole gossip session and yelled at them to back off, explaining it wasn't a snack, it was just super nasty medicine. He chugged it instantly. The maid scattered, slamming the door, and then he literally puked everything back up. Anne started freaking out, scolding him that he was supposed to sip the potion, not just down it. Hours flew by until it got dark. He realized he really had to gear up since the plot was totally derailed now. Even though his folks begged him to chill, after literally getting stabbed right in the heart, Moon knew staying alive was his top priority. That meant leveling up his physical stats and magic skills like crazy. He jotted down his main goals: stay alive, dodge getting tortured by that psycho girl, get massively overpowered, and never trust the dark diary. Moon basically sat there overthinking everything. Who the heck was that creepy chick obsessed with loving him so weirdly? He did not recognize her at all, making him super anxious. His brain felt completely fried, trying to figure out how his life turned into this massive mess. Getting totally pissed off, he flopped onto his mattress, realizing that stressing over the details was utterly pointless. Leveling up was the only thing that mattered. The rest could wait. Then it clicked what happened in the original novel. The bad guy wasted an entire year at the magical academy just learning to make a dumb ceiling light. He absolutely had to grind his stats so he could squeeze into Ariel's squad, ensuring his survival. Assessing his stats, he realized his physical build was pretty solid, but his mana reserves were total trash. Face-palming hard, he sighed, thinking it was totally hopeless, since divinities literally handpicked both Ariel and Celia. Those two had crazy overpowered innate talents. Grinding 24/7 still wouldn't put him anywhere near their league. They were walking cheat codes, totally wrecking the competition. Celia literally spawned with hardcore ice and snow abilities at birth. Ever since childhood, she wielded those freezing abilities without even breaking a sweat. Then, there's Ariel. By the finale, the gods blessed her with over 10 crazy new abilities, making her literally unbeatable against anyone ever. Moon totally got that they were basically tied in strength right now, but honestly, her magic skills were a bit sharper. Plus, she rocked some seriously OP loot. She could hold her own, while he was basically glass. Slamming the novel shut, Moon realized the harsh truth. He desperately had to level up way quicker than Ariel. Outscaling her before she peaked was his only survival plan. Our guy looked super hyped about this new mindset. Sure, Ariel was literally a walking cheat code, but he had secret weapons too, like the sick new ability he unlocked after that ambush. That power? The Black Diary. He spawned it in, but the thing materialized mid-air and dropped straight onto his junk. Curled up in absolute agony, Moon totally lost it. He cursed the thing for nearly destroying his future kids. While he glared at it dead serious, the pages suddenly flipped open. It basically documented his entire journey so far in insanely accurate detail. The crazy lore was flawless, but what completely creeped him out was it calling him the literal main character. Spooked, but catching on, he quickly figured out its vibe. There was also this super sketchy Crimson chapter. That section straight up spoiled future tragedies, totally predicting that brutal ambush him and Celia barely survived. Without warning, it flashed and teleported him to some random zone, making him insanely mad. Checking out his weird new surroundings, he guessed he got sucked straight into a dungeon built inside the pages. A terrifying shadow lurked behind him. He spun around, only to catch the sound of stealthy steps closing in. The rogue closed the gap and instantly slashed his neck. The killer rocked a totally revamped outfit, while our guy shrieked in terror, wondering how he just got one shot. How was a dead girl chilling in his inventory? Suddenly, the pages floated, showing his exact fighting stats, spells, and stealth. Seeing his entire progression laid out, he burst out laughing, finally getting the ultimate point. This thing was his ultimate cheat sheet. He just gotta test out the mechanics first. He's totally ready to speedrun his growth and leave Ariel in the dust. Cut to him exhausted in bed, gripping a timer. Bro barely survived 3 seconds in that warped time zone. Here's the quick rundown on how the timeline works. Grabbing the diary to verify his stats, he noticed a 1% bump in melee and stealth, totally validating his theory. Turns out that weird realm he got iseked into was actually a custom training room. Basically, he can plug into a simulation to grind skills, exactly like the rogue who jumped Celia. Feeling smug, he crashes onto the mattress. With unlimited virtual grinding, he can easily rival Ariel now. Activating it again, the heavy thing hilariously smacks him right in the face before he re-enters the matrix. Plot twist though, the second the session starts, he gets absolutely clapped over and over. Getting sliced in two on repeat is brutal. Midway through this bloodbath, someone knocks. Obviously, it is Anne pulling up with his daily meds. Poking her head in, she tells him it is time for his dose. Our guy is totally hiding under the covers. Anne thinks his childhood blanket fort habit is insanely adorable. Casting a quick warming buff on the cup, she decides against waking him, figuring he really needs his beauty sleep. Just as she steps fully inside, Moon shrieks like he's being literally murdered. Inside the VR realm, the killer's phantom just crit him right in the vitals. Moon was absolutely raging at the NPC, totally underestimating how busted her stats were. Going for one last run, he prayed he could land just a single hit on her untouchable self. It didn't matter where he tried to hide. Anne was definitely tracking him down. Back inside, Moon was totally out cold. He squirmed a bit, looking like he was snapping out of it. And boom, his eyes snapped open. Chugging way too much water right before bed completely wrecked his sleep schedule. Everybody knows the drill. You hydrate too hard at night, you're absolutely waking up at 3 in the morning desperately needing a pee break. Our guy stepped out to find the restroom but suddenly heard a dog yapping from that exact room Urka specifically told him to ignore. The supposed meat locker. The whole vibe just felt incredibly sketchy to him. Who locks a dog inside a pantry full of steaks? Super weird, right? He figured, maybe, it was just some rare breed making those bizarre noises. Out of nowhere, Erica popped up right behind him, giving him a massive jump scare. She questioned why he was up so crazy late, asking if something was wrong or if he wanted help with anything. Still catching his breath from the spook, he glanced over and awkwardly mentioned nature was calling. Basically, he was just trying to say he needed to pee without making it gross, which she totally got. Still, our boy used the chance to casually ask if they kept any pets around the estate. Looking super fond, she smiled and admitted there was indeed a puppy, claiming it was her own adorable and super smart companion. She swore her pet was totally chill, claiming any yapping or whining just meant the poor thing wanted a snack. That calmed his nerves a bit. So he told her that totally checked out, since he definitely heard howling. Then, he hyped up his love for animals and asked if he could go pet her dog. He was especially obsessed with Coltons, those massive, golden-furred ones. He practically worshipped their puppies because they are always insanely smart. Erica immediately shut that down though, saying she absolutely couldn't introduce them. She blamed it on the pet being super anxious, which is why it stayed locked away. Moon just shrugged it off, buying her story completely. With that awkward chat wrapped up, he finally went to pee while she headed back to bed. Right before splitting up, she casually dropped that the outhouse was by the well and told him not to wander off in the pitch black. But guys, right after flashing that sweet grin, Erica shot him the creepiest glare ever, totally behind his back. Right then, it hit us. This girl was absolutely cooking up something evil. The toilet out by the well was honestly a nightmare. He was gagging at the stench, wondering how anyone survived using it. Seriously, the spot looked like it hadn't been scrubbed this decade. While fighting for his life against the smell, something cool distracted him. He walked over and realized it was the window to the secret pet room. Those weird animal noises were still bugging him, so he creeped closer to investigate. He figured taking a tiny peek wouldn't hurt anybody. But man, what he saw totally flipped the script. That secret puppy wasn't a pet at all. It was literally Colt, her supposed crush. She was straight up treating him like a stray, calling him a good boy, and telling him to stay quiet while hand-feeding him scraps. Then, she whispered to her captive that their guest, Moon, still had a purpose. She promised Colt that if he hung on just one more day, she would finally let him go. Outside, Moon was internally screaming at finding out she was a complete psycho. Talk about horrible timing. He instantly stepped on a twig and snapped it. The noise caught her attention, and she yelled out to ask who was creeping around. Still gripping Colt, she directly called out our boy's name. She aggressively shoved the window open but found empty air. But if you pan the camera up, there's our guy. Yup, he went full spider mode and stuck himself to the roof overhang. Honestly, his stealth skills are unmatched. Downstairs, Erica was whispering to herself, saying this whole God of Love awakening thing was gonna take a bit longer. She told Colt she was gonna go check if Moon was the guy outside. But our boy Moon ain't dumb, right? He totally took that chance and dipped. Like, he was absolutely shook that Erica was straight up psycho because she gave off such sweet vibes at first. Turns out, that dude playing the role of her pet dog was literally the husband she was talking about at dinner. Poor Moon was literally losing his mind over dodging one obsessed yandere just to crash right into another absolute lunatic. Oh, but it gets better. His brain finally started putting all those weird red flags together. That totally empty line from before, plus this retired adventurer treating her own hubby like a literal puppy, dropping the God of Love name, that creepy ritual she was pulling off, and those weird noises echoing since he walked in. Bro thought she was his savior, but nope. She was totally playing him and just wanted to use him for her sick little project. So, obviously, it was time to bust out Plan 36. Let me break down what Plan 36 actually means for you guys. It literally just means running for your life. Run, Moon. Get the heck away from that crazy obsessed chick right now. And yeah, our guy is officially sprinting away from Erica. Dodging Anne wasn't stressful enough, apparently. Next thing we know, Erica's knocking on his door, but when she swings it open, the room is completely empty. Our boy had already made his great escape. She absolutely loses her mind with anger because she desperately needed him for that freaky God of Love ceremony. She gets so mad, she literally smashes the door and the right side cabinet. She was totally in denial that Moon caught onto her messed up ritual plans. Right then, somebody actually rings the front doorbell of the mayor's place, which is exactly where she is hiding out. She hopes it's Moon crawling back, getting that totally unhinged crazy eye look. But as she opens up, she instantly fakes this super sweet smile, asking if it took him forever to get back home. Spoiler alert, guys, it is definitely not our boy. It's actually Anne standing there. Erica is totally shocked and calls out her name. Anne just casually fires back that it's been a hot minute since they hung out. We then cut to the inside of the house. Erica serves up some tea, and Anne totally appreciates it. Erica questions why she's rocking a maid outfit, calling it super adorable. Anne just explains she bolted from the estate way too fast to swap clothes. Then she hits Erica with, "Why do you keep calling me master? I literally never taught you a single thing." Erica asks how she could forget, saying Anne was the whole reason she finally got the guts to embrace her true crazy self. Plus, it was totally because of Anne's dating tips that she finally pulled it together and confessed to her husband, Roach. Erica then asks if she's down to see something super wild. Anne is kinda lost, questioning what she's even talking about. Erica just says she wants to show off her ultimate masterpiece, so Erica dips to grab the surprise. At the same time, Anne starts picking up on some seriously weird vibes in the room. She's like, "There's zero doubt here. The young master's smell is literally everywhere in this house." She knows our main guy's scent anywhere, and it's super heavy in the air. But that wasn't the only thing she smelled. The place totally reeked of blood, like, a ton of it. While she's zoning out, thinking about this, Erica bounces back, super hyped to reveal her surprise. What she brings out leaves Anne completely speechless. Erica presents her man, Roach, and tells him to say hi to the visitor. Instead of talking, Roach just starts barking like a literal mutt. Erica demands his paw, and he just keeps playing the puppy role. She straight up gives him head scratches, calling him a good boy, while Anne is just standing there staring at the whole mess. In her head, Anne is just like, "I had no idea couples were into this weird kind of cosplay dynamic." She actually thinks it's kind of fascinating, figuring it's just normal married stuff. Fun fact though, Anne has zero clue Erica is also a total yandere. So, yeah, it's basically a yandere crossover episode. Anne praises her, saying she totally nailed it and feels super proud. Erica actually blushes, saying that since Anne is the pro, she's probably taken this romance stuff to a way crazier level. She totally bets that Anne's man is locked down, body and soul. She admits she's nowhere close to pulling that off with Roach yet, but Anne claps back saying Erica is honestly crushing it way harder. She drops the tea that because she got super cocky and distracted, her little master actually managed to run away. Super curious, Erica asks if this dream guy happens to be Mr. Moon. Anne totally freezes, getting this awful sinking feeling. She admits that, yep, her main guy is Moon. Then she immediately asks if he's been hiding out in this place. Erica nods and says yeah. Stressing out, Anne demands to know where he went, questioning if he was literally just chilling here. Then Erica gives her the fake rundown. She claims she found him totally exhausted on her way back, dragged him inside, fed him, and gave him some fresh fits. Erica was like, "Yeah, I totally let him crash at my place." But when she checked the bathroom later, Moon had literally vanished. Dude totally ghosted her without a word. Anne asked when he dipped out. Erica swore it went down super recently, like less than 2 hours ago tops. Major plot twist. Erica was actually planning to sacrifice Moon for this bizarre love god aesthetic. Anne was totally clueless about this. Plus, Anne is a hardcore yanturi, and you seriously never mess with their mans. Erica told her to chill out, bragging about this cool new tracking hex she just picked up. She wanted to scan for his footprints, figuring there was zero chance he got far in the pitch black. If they hurried, they could totally catch him. But first, Erica said she had to grab some stuff for the magic. Anne was just like, "All right, I'll stay right here and wait." Before heading out, Erica dropped a warning. This was actually the mayor's pad, so Anne better stay put and stop snooping. Anne totally agreed, promising to just chill in the room until her bestie got back. Flopping onto the bed, Anne hugged a pillow and obsessed over Moon. Super heartbroken he ditched 3 whole cities just to escape her vibe. She started second-guessing herself, wondering if she was too clingy and maybe needed to give him more breathing room. The guy obviously despised her, and she was so confused why he rejected her affection when she wasn't even toxic. Honestly, maybe if she hadn't tried locking him up and feeding him weird monster snacks, their situationship wouldn't be so messy. Right as she squeezed the pillow, pretending it was her crush, somebody suddenly popped up. It was literally Roach, Erica's husband, who basically acts like a total puppy despite being fully human. Out of nowhere, Roach freaked out and started shrieking in agony, screaming at everyone to run for their lives. Freaking out, Anne asked if he was okay, even though he clearly wasn't. He just kept chanting his wife's name on a loop. "Erica, you gotta run away from Erica. Seriously, keep your distance," he shrieked like an absolute madman. He babbled something about everyone being stuck in the final room, begging Anne to bolt before she got grabbed next. But then, a total switch flipped. Roach went right back to normal, acting like his wife's good little pet again. Anne just stared at him, totally creeped out as his words lived rent-free in her head. That final room. A sec later, she crept over to that mysterious door, dying to know what sketchy secret Erica was hiding back there. The handle wouldn't budge, but since Anne is literally magical, she just cast a quick hex to pop it open. The second it swung wide, a heavy metallic stench hit her face, totally freaking her out. The whole town was permanently offline inside. Every single local who used to hang around here was totally dismantled into an absolute mess. Even that Auntie Roach had a crush on was strung up on display. Anne was literally too stunned to speak. She never imagined Erica could be this utterly unhinged. Staring at the ruined locals, Anne's inner hero mode activated. Like, even for a hardcore Yantari, wiping out innocent lives was a massive red flag, at least, for the most part. Out of nowhere, Erica's voice whispered from behind. "Oops, bestie found my little secret stash. Guess nothing else matters now." Then she hit her with, "We're basically twins, right? You totally get my whole vibe, don't you?" Flashing a completely twisted grin, she admitted doing this entire messy aesthetic just for love. Anne was instantly stressed. Getting into a fighting stance, she asked if some dark spirit messed with her head. Erica just burst into giggles, cackling like crazy. She denied any dark magic, twirling a blade like an absolute psycho. She smirked. It was the romance god, actually. And honestly, that romance god treated me incredibly well. He literally gave me everything I craved, so I just paid it forward by doing his favors. Anne felt super weirded out by this so-called divine power. She instantly pressed her. "You got all these abilities, but what was the actual price tag? You literally canceled the entire neighborhood." Chuckling with zero shame, Erica claimed it didn't cost a single thing. The deity never forced her to take anyone out. She did the deleting totally for fun, just embracing her authentic self. She bragged again about how much they mirrored each other, then casually dropped that her ritual only needed one last participant, basically hinting that Anne should step up and be the final tribute so she could wrap up her dream ceremony. Waving her weapon at her, Erica purred. "You'll totally hook me up with this final favor, right?" Anne realized this girl was a total lost cause, fully gone off the deep end. So, she squared up and stepped closer. Erica beamed, genuinely thinking her idol was volunteering to be deleted. She gushed about how thrilled she was to finally be understood. The crazy girl literally promised Anne a super quick slash to the neck, so it wouldn't even hurt. Talk about twisted sympathy. But Anne flexed her liquid metal magic, whipping out this iron rope that straight up sliced Erica down first. Boom. Instant karma. Red was literally spraying everywhere as the girl dropped. Anne felt a tiny bit bad. But hey, you can't just let toxic people keep wrecking lives, right? Gasping her last breaths on the floor, this chick had the audacity to claim she was totally innocent. She swore she was just spreading pure affection and honestly asked what was so wrong with her vibe. Like, girl, unaliving people is definitely 0 out of 10 romance. That totally set Anne off. She told her to zip it because wrapping up a massacre and calling it romance is just gross. Fading fast, the girl hit back with the ultimate philosophical question. If ripping people apart isn't true devotion, then what is? Staring right into Anne's eyes, she dropped a massive plot twist. Anne was the one who taught her to be this greedy. Way back, Anne literally told her to chase her dreams and take whatever she wanted. So, the crazy girl was basically just following those exact instructions. Yikes. Dropping a quick sorry, Anne dipped out of there. Stepping outside, her brain started racing about that whole creepy deity situation the girl babbled about. Honestly, she probably did get blessed by some supernatural entity, but turning people into human smoothies was definitely not the vibe. Our metal wizard realized her own sketchy life coaching literally created this monster. Pro tip for everyone. Never take motivational quotes from Anne. Like, 0 stars for that advice. The guilt was eating her alive, but right now, tracking down her boss, Moon, was the absolute priority. Once the boss man was safe, she planned to come back and give all these poor souls, even the crazy chick, a decent send-off. But hold up. A super creepy romantic whisper suddenly echoes through the air. Anne immediately gets into fight mode, locking her eyes on that spooky mansion doorway. A totally gross, metallic stench starts pouring out from inside the building. Seriously nasty stuff. Out of nowhere, a massive red tidal wave blasts through the walls, while a freaky voice starts obsessing over Anne. The entire roof literally blows off in a spectacular crimson geyser. It clicks in her brain right then and there. This disgusting liquid nightmare was the exact freaky deity that hijacked her friend's mind. Cut to our boy Moon, out here sprinting for his life, like he's trying to break a track record. Dude is absolutely exhausted from booking it nonstop. He figured putting that much distance behind him meant nobody could ever catch up, not even his obsessed stalker. But right as he was catching his breath, Anne gets yeeted completely across the sky from the mansion directly toward him. She crashes just inches away, nearly squashing the guy flat. He's standing there totally baffled, trying to process the absolute chaos that just dropped in. Seeing all this dust kicking up by a tree, and someone literally launching through the air, he legit thought a comet hit. Then, he hears someone groaning in the crater. Curiosity kicks in, so he carefully scopes out the wreckage. Getting closer, he realizes it's his own bodyguard making that noise. Yep, talk about a totally wild reunion. He immediately sees she is battered, bruised, and in super bad shape. Despite looking like she went through a blender, Anne is absolutely thrilled to see him safe, though she knows they seriously cannot chill here. Low-key panicking, Moon demands to know what on earth is going down, and who wrecked her this badly. He's begging to know who the villain is, and asking if she can even walk. She shoots him down, saying she's grounded, and they definitely don't have time for a storytime session. It was strictly a pack your bags and run situation. They needed to bounce, like yesterday. She bravely offers to tank the incoming threat, so he can make a run for it. Confused, the guy is like, wait, run from what exactly? And right on cue, the giant, nasty crimson blob reveals itself in all its terrifying glory. This horrific mashup of townspeople is literally screaming out for Anne, begging to know where she's hiding. Moon stares at the freak show, completely weirded out, asking his guard what the heck he's looking at. Spoiler alert, that massive gooey beast was actually his stalker fused together with all her unfortunate victims. So gross. The thing starts shouting at them to embrace her affection, which literally meant being absorbed right into her jelly-like flesh matrix. Moon was absolutely disgusted by the offer to join a mutant flash mob. He started freaking out, questioning if this thing was straight out of a horror movie. While he's shouting about the abomination, the creepy fusion girl finally notices her favorite crush is standing right there, aiming directly at him. She screams about how obsessed she is with him, all while launching lethal red spikes his way. Talk about toxic traits. The horrifying realization that this was his stalker finally hits him, but Anne immediately tackles him out of the danger zone. A massive crimson blast nukes the exact spot they were just standing in. He survives, but his bodyguard wrecks her legs so badly she's totally immobilized now. They hit the dirt super hard. The impact completely shreds her lower half, while our boy just takes a decent knock to the skull. Seeing her completely trashed, he begs her to use him as a crutch, but she stubbornly acts like taking a massive hit was basically nothing. Flashing a brave little smirk, she orders him to sprint for safety, totally hyping herself up to solo the crazy mutant X. She tells him to just chill and keep moving, promising to catch up the second she permanently cancels this creepy stalker. Interrupting their emotional moment, the gooey villain crashes through the scenery, literally demolishing everything in her path like a bulldozer. Getting super aggressive, the monster starts charging up an insane red blast that's about to nuke the entire area into pieces. She claims it is the ultimate moment to share her twisted affection, unleashing that wicked crimson spell. The attack barrels right at them. Reacting fast, Anne whips up her liquid metal powers to block the hit. While Anne forms blades, Moon cranks his shadow step up to 200%. The massive speed boost lets him scoop her up, dodging the blast and totally returning her previous favor. We get this epic shot of him sprinting with her, as Erica totally wrecks the entire area in the background. Super confused, she demands to know why on earth he just bailed her out like that. He casually points out her terrible lying skills, noting that if she could actually handle Erica alone and finish the fight, she would have done it instantly. He is fully aware she simply lacks the power to win this match, leaving running away as their only option. Plus, despite all their past drama in Antar or Tura, she is still family to him. Because of that bond, there is zero chance he will let anyone lay a finger on her. He brags a bit about being the absolute master of making a quick getaway. Pushing his evasion skills to the absolute limit, his insane speed lets him bounce from spot to spot, totally dodging Erica's massive wave of destruction. They finally manage to create a solid gap, but our guy is running entirely on empty. Spamming that ability drains his stamina like crazy, and lugging her around definitely makes the burnout way worse. Noticing her worried look, he promises they will soon be totally clear of Urka. But sadly, their getaway falls short. The crazy girl is already catching up, absolutely livid. She is totally baffled about why they keep rejecting her toxic affection. Sensing trouble, he immediately yells at his partner to take a massive gulp of air. Way before she catches on to the plan, he dives straight into a rushing stream right as those creepy hands almost snatch them from behind. Plunging below the surface, He banks on the fact that her crimson-based powers will just wash apart in the current. The crazy gamble totally pays off. Once those dark red claws hit the water, they immediately start dissolving. His genius strategy succeeds, keeping her threats safely above the surface. But looking over, he spots a huge new issue. Turns out, she is absolutely terrible at staying submerged. This completely catches him off guard. This girl who acts like a total pro at literally everything is failing hard at simply holding her breath. Knowing he is the only one with decent lungs right now, he comes up with a super awkward but life-saving trick. Leaning in, he locks lips to share his own air supply with her. Up top, their stalker finally notices they have completely vanished. Losing her mind, she just cannot grasp why anyone would pass up her supposed gift of absolute devotion. Throwing a massive tantrum, she shrieks, demanding to know why they refuse her. The sheer shockwave from her yell literally obliterates nearby boulders and woods. Calming down slightly, she remembers she only needs a single extra victim to wrap up that creepy love deity ritual. Even though this final tribute will probably wreck her own body, she is entirely committed to pulling it off. Giving off major unhinged vibes, she figures her current targets can be put on pause for a bit. Once she bags that last person, she plans to ascend into a literal goddess and make the whole planet worship her. Yeah, you heard me. She will literally step right out of this YouTube video and show up at your front door. Fast forward a bit. The duo crashes in a hidden cavern, where he immediately starts patching up her wounds. Since she is totally crushing on him, the whole leg bandaging situation makes her blush like crazy. He mentions the cuts aren't too bad, but makes it clear that once they hit civilization again, a real medic needs to do a proper checkup. Still feeling super awkward, she admits she is incredibly confused about something. When he asks what is on her mind, she finally blurts out her confusion over his rescue mission. She brings up all her past toxic behavior, like locking him up and being super obsessively possessive. Adding to that, she figures he must absolutely despise her. When push came to shove, he literally could have just let her drop during the attack. He shoots back, sarcastically asking if it really took her this long to notice she messed up. Owning up to her flaws, she drops a bombshell about that time she went fishing for him at Pinball Lake. That trip was actually her first meeting with Urka, and she confesses that she accidentally pushed the girl toward that dark deity. Basically, she gave the villain a total masterclass on all the obsessive stuff she was doing to him. So yeah, this entire psychotic stalker mess is completely her fault. Looking completely heartbroken, she admits her terrible advice nearly got him wiped out and tragically cost other innocent folks their lives. But instead of staying mad, he grabs her hands and assures her that while her past actions were awful, owning up to them is a huge step forward, which totally gave her a chance to make things right. He reassured her she wasn't toxic, but genuinely sweet deep down. Her vibe was just totally off when expressing affection. At the end of the day, she just wanted to care for him, not cause drama. Moon flashed her a warm smile, urging her to shake it off. They both survived, right? Plus, owning up to her mess-ups was the first step to a major glow-up. He even joked that she could totally dial back the crazy stalker vibes moving forward. Obviously, Anne was fighting back tears. Her mind was just racing with how insanely incredible he was. Meanwhile, our guy was mentally patting himself on the back, convinced he'd finally cured her toxic attachment issues. He honestly thought their little heart-to-heart meant she'd finally chill out and keep her crazy impulses under wraps. Plot twist, she practically tackled him with a huge kiss. Wrapping him in a massive hug, she gushed over how he was still the same sweet, genuine guy. She owned up to her paranoia about him changing. She also totally admitted that trying to control his every move and forcing him into her perfect little box was a massive fail, swearing she'd drop the whole puppet master act forever. Popping up on her feet, she confidently announced she was back at 100% and totally ready to wreck Urka. Except, right on cue, her leg gave out from agonizing pain and she totally face-planted into him. He pointed out she was practically running on empty after taking massive damage, so playing the tough girl wasn't the smartest move. She totally sighed and agreed, wishing she had just a bit more juice in the tank to actually take that villain down. Stepping up, he offered to scout the cave perimeter to make sure their stalker wasn't creeping up, giving them a quick breather. Poking his head out, the coast looked super clear, meaning their little hideout was totally safe for now. Coming back, he quizzed her about that whole evil god cultist thing. He got that both girls shared weird magical backgrounds, but the major catch was that truly chosen warriors literally got their badass powers straight from the divine source. She literally just hit the genetic jackpot because some higher power decided she'd be born totally overpowered. Meanwhile, their enemy was just a desperate cultist running errands for a dark deity who makes shady deals with mortals. Sure, those creepy contracts hand over insane abilities, but the karma payback is absolutely brutal. Still, the insane level of absolute destruction she unleashed totally screamed way beyond basic minion status. During their brawl, Anne totally felt her opponent's energy absolutely spiking. It was massive and just kept leveling up constantly. Then he instantly remembered the actual original plot, where the entire world practically ended thanks to 3 nightmare beasts whipped up by the dark god to erase everyone completely. It hit him like a truck. She was totally going to evolve into one of those apocalyptic bosses, unless they stopped her as soon as possible. He also remembered her psycho rambling about needing just one final target to wrap up her creepy little ritual. She noticed him zoning out and asked if he was cooking up a strategy, which he totally was. He laid it out. If his gut was right, that psycho cleared out the whole town, just to mutate into a giant freak. Basically, the dark deity was playing her like a cheap fiddle to crash into their dimension, wreck the world, and farm massive power. She'd literally just bragged about being exactly one poor soul short of finishing her crazy dark ritual, meaning they seriously needed to speedrun straight to Peruant City and take down her final target before she got there. That would totally crash her villain origin story, because if she managed to secure that final target, she'd just roll out of town and wreck other cities, indefinitely leveling up off an infinite damage streak. But Anne hit him with a reality check, claiming the requirements for their enemy's ultimate dark glow-up were already checked off. Moon was clueless, arguing they were out in the sticks with 0 people around. And then, a massive plot twist clicked in his brain. Outside of their little duo, one more person was still hanging around the closest settlement. It was her own husband. He was the literal final piece she needed to evolve into a full-blown apocalyptic boss. Forcing herself up, she told him they literally had 0 time left to chill. If that psycho claimed her final target, she was going to hit absolute god-tier stats. She completely blamed herself, swearing the crazy cultist was her mess, so it was entirely on her to clean it up. He immediately offered backup, but she totally shot him down. Her excuse? It was way too risky for her precious guy to tag along, but he shut that down, insisting he wasn't going for her sake, but to stop that cultist from ruining more lives. Plus, his gut said their enemy wasn't completely rotten inside. He tells her that back when they first crossed paths, way before she went full supervillain, he saw real goodness in her. She had his back and treated him right. In his eyes, she is not purely toxic. So, since she was a total sweetheart who bailed him out, he is teaming up with Anne to rescue her or take her out if needed, just to stop the body count from rising. That is his ultimate choice. But Anne just screams at Moon, totally stressing that this is not about the power of friendship anymore. She keeps snapping, asking if the dude is totally blind to their current nightmare. They are stranded in the middle of nowhere, 0 gear, and totally solo. Their odds of actually taking down Urka are basically 0. Even going full power, Anne could never crush Urka or keep Moon safe. Totally freaking out, she just wraps him in a massive hug. Moon gets the brutal reality check she is dropping. Winning this fight is basically a pipe dream. Anne starts sobbing, completely blaming herself for this whole disaster, terrified that Moon might literally die over her own mistakes. The guilt would absolutely wreck her forever. Moon just looks down and wraps his arms around her too, but mid-embrace, he spots a tiny detail on the dirt behind her. Just a random melee coin, the cash they use around here. Then it clicks that single piece of cash is trailing into a massive pile of money. Anne wonders why he is staring into space, so Moon just flexes a light spell he picked up recently. Boom. They uncover a completely insane, yet logical jackpot, a massive stash overflowing with gold, cash, and combat gear. Turns out, this creepy spot was actually a secret underground base for local thugs. Moon figured it out from the slashed-up entrance and heavy foot traffic. After digging through the loot, our guy scores an absolute god-tier blade. He checks if Anne is good to go. Turns out, she just melted down an entire pile of blades into flowing liquid steel. Working around her busted leg, she crafted a dope metal rig to hover, meaning she can totally brawl mid-air without ever landing. Just a total genius flex. Both are hyped to confront Urka, either for a rescue or a takedown. Moon casually drops that mission rescue is a go. Cut to the duo fully locked and loaded for the boss fight. Way off, they spot the boss, a massive, mutated Urka. Taking it all in, we see her details up close. The girl is absolutely gigantic, rocking extra limbs and hardcore creepy vibes. She is screaming for Roach, demanding her hubby. Moon just watches as she obsessively rants about her intense love for the guy. Moon admits Anne completely nailed it. Urka's stats are skyrocketing, inflating her body to easily 10 times its original size. A boss this huge is literally unbeatable. Moon breathes heavy, regretting this whole hero arc. He is definitely about to get yeeted across the map or absolutely clobbered. She was ridiculously strong. Honestly, almost getting murdered by Celia back home felt like a vacation compared to this. But he shakes it off, no time for regrets. Ditching Anne right now is not an option since she would instantly get wrecked solo against that monster. Getting totally pumped, Moon shouts that he literally does not care if she acts like some deity, a crazy stalker, or completely insane. He is pulling off this rescue. He yells across the gap, screaming, "Yo, Urka!" She catches him screaming, so he cranks his volume to max. "Yo, right here. Pay attention to me." Spotting him, she assumes Mr. Moon is finally claiming her heart. But our guy ruthlessly rejects her affection entirely. Why, though? Simply because he is a skydiver. Yup, a literal skydiver. Not even trolling right now, he seriously claimed to be a skydiver. A totally out-of-pocket statement. Diving off his massive metal perch, Moon accelerates downwards, screaming about being the ultimate pro skydiver. Below, Urka glares and instantly launches homing spells at his falling body. She bolted straight for our hero the second his feet left the edge. Moon smirked, knowing this entire sequence played out exactly like his mental simulation. Who knew our boy had this massive galaxy brain energy lately? Flashback to a quick minute right before this epic clash. Moon was hyping up Anne, making it crystal clear she had to follow his strategy flawlessly. Point 1. Taking that dark deity's curse didn't actually kill her. Being a corpse means zero chance of steering that beast. So, she is definitively breathing. The whole vibe isn't an assassination, but purging that toxic godly venom from her system entirely. There has to be some cursed relic from the villain forcing her movements, maybe a spooky ring, chain, or magical charm. Plus, he noted that the universe's physics literally block massive energy spikes out of thin air, totally backing up the idea that the dark entity slapped an overpowered item onto her for that insane buff. Anne was all ears, while Moon laid out his crazy plan to carve a clear path straight to Urka. She'd hit the monster hard, giving him the perfect opening to dash in and pinpoint where the corruption started. They needed a solid 10 minutes to pull this off. Anne pushed back though, warning that her metal strikes couldn't hold that thing down forever. Speed was their only option. Brushing off her panic, Moon promised he'd easily grab the monster's focus, queuing her up for a brutal ambush. No way was she letting her precious young master play the decoy. Sure, Urka wasn't a full-blown dark deity yet, but she was still insanely powerful. Seeing him bleed wasn't an option. Yet, Moon just grinned, gently silencing her with a finger to her lips. He pointed out their isolated reality. Since Anne was the real powerhouse here, he had to be the distraction. Plus, he totally dismissed any fears of getting wrecked or killed. He coolly added that he was putting his life entirely in her hands. As House Campbell's ultimate protector, he knew she'd fight like crazy to keep him safe during his suicidal bait routine. That raw display of faith totally stunned Anne, hitting her right in the feels. Cut to the creepy midnight woods. Anne questioned how he'd predict the monster's exact strike time. Moon smirked, claiming timing didn't matter, since he was forcing her hand starting right this second. Suddenly, he was free-falling off a cliff face, dodging a swarm of terrifying hands reaching for him. Surprise! Anne had been chilling inside the steel column he leaped from. She exploded outwards, manifesting a terrifying liquid metal arsenal. Defending her boss, she morphed the fluid alloy into a storm of tiny, razor-sharp blades and launched them at the beast. The monster totally failed to block, taking the brutal barrage straight to the face. The impact shredded her like Swiss cheese, culminating in a massive, gory crater blasted right through her stomach. Bleeding out, the creature just smiled sweetly. Whispering a creepy welcome, she seemed absolutely thrilled by her old friend's return. Unfazed, Anne glared back, confirming her brutal homecoming while constantly drilling more steel into the monster's mangled flesh. Then she swore she came back specifically to pull her friend from the darkness. As the brawl dragged on, the corrupted beast kept supersizing herself, barely shrugging off the relentless, omnidirectional strikes. Forging an absolute unit of a javelin, Anne chucked it full force, dead centering her target. Thick, dark smoke immediately started pouring off the wound. The beast laughed it off, bragging that regular monster-slaying tricks were useless now. She was basically a dark deity at this point. Yanking the massive spike out of her gut like it was nothing, she boasted of her immortality. But right before she could gloat more, Moon popped up behind her with a sarcastic reality check. Ready to expose her fake divinity, he unleashed absolutely every drop of magic he had. He honestly thought that Mega Blast shattered her dark anchor. Shockingly, the smoke cleared to reveal zero damage. Slowly, turning around with total crazy eyes, she purred a creepy, obsessed greeting to him. Panicking, his bodyguard instantly threw up an iron shield, barely intercepting a lethal gut punch aimed at him. The kinetic shockwave still launched him backward, shattering the boulders he smashed into. He was left completely wrecked and bleeding everywhere. Without that last-second shield, he'd be absolute toast. That should have been game over. Charging up a massive cosmic nuke, the freak confessed she knew his location all along, just baiting him into a twisted embrace. Rocking an unhinged grin, she begged him to accept her crazy affection, screaming wildly as she dropped the orbital strike on his head. Screaming her lungs out, his loyal protector sprinted desperately to intercept the blast. The psycho deity just flicked her wrist, coldly demanding the maid stay completely out of their romantic moment. A massive, gory phantom hand materialized, swatting the maid like a fly and tossing her into the dirt, battered and broken. Physical pain was nothing compared to the gut-wrenching dread that her boss was totally vaporized, and she completely blew her mission. Out of nowhere, the monster's vibe totally shifted. Sensing some weird energy glitch, she angrily demanded to know where they stashed her beloved husband, Roach. Cutting the crazy talk short, a fully enraged maid went absolutely feral, screaming about how dare she touch her precious master. Blind with rage, she swore to literally pulverize the monster into pathetic, worthless ash. Off to the side, a battered Moon just watched the crazy showdown unfold. Mid-cough, a random hand grabbed his shoulder, warning him to chill and stay put. The mystery guy shoved a health elixir right past his lips, ordering him to chug the whole thing for a quick fix. Plot twist. Moon suddenly recognized his savior as Roach, literally Urka's hubby. Guess that weird dog transformation hex finally wore off, letting the dude revert back to his actual human self. Exactly 1 minute later, the juice kicked in. Moon bounced back to 100%, feeling totally flawless, like he never took a single hit. He dropped a massive thank you to the guy, totally admitting he thought he was a goner today. Peeking from the shrubs, the duo spectated the insane brawl between the girls. The dude formally introduced himself as Roach, or E for short, before asking who he just saved. Our boy flexed his full title, announcing himself as Moon Campbell from the Campbell clan. While staying tucked away, they kept tracking the brawl. Moon finally asked for the rundown on this chaos. Roach pointed out that those two ladies were throwing down hardcore, though Anne was clearly running out of gas. Figuring the guy had front row seats to this whole mess from day one, Moon started interrogating him. He seriously needed to know if some cursed artifact had triggered Urka's massive villain era. Roach admitted he had zero clue when she got her hands on it, but completely blamed himself for the nightmare. If he had just picked up on her massive crush sooner, they could have dated, totally avoiding this current bloodbath and all those tragic casualties. Owning up to the drama, he confessed his genuine feelings for her and insisted on dragging her out of this darkness. Moon chimed in that he and Anne were totally on the same wavelength, aiming for a rescue mission too. But letting her walk away was absolutely not an option. If she hit another town, her power would skyrocket and the body count would just explode. Pushing for answers, Moon practically begged to know if she was lugging around some unholy relic from that dark deity. The guy swore he never spotted a physical relic, though her vibe was insanely toxic. Moon called bluff, demanding he brainstorm harder since she literally wiped out an entire town. Like, where did all that mass sacrifice energy even vanish to? What happened to the stolen magic? That demonic entity had to be hiding inside her somehow. Still, Roach stood his ground. He watched her entire murder spree unfold live and promised there was zero cursed gear involved. Wait, hold up. He suddenly remembered a weird detail right on her chest. That tattoo thing might actually be the dark artifact. It was that exact same edgy crest from back when she originally bought into Anne's crazy ideas. That chest tattoo was literally the controller the demon used to puppet her and spam those overpowered attacks. Anyway, cutting back to the epic catfight, Urka shrieked at the top of her lungs, demanding everyone just embrace her totally toxic obsession. Rushing her opponent, she ranted about how crazy it was that people kept curving her affection. With super cocky energy, she announced Anne was the final puzzle piece for her ritual, since her hubby and the other guy were missing. Out of nowhere, a familiar voice shouted her name, totally throwing her off. It was her man, casually hanging by a seemingly patched-up Moon. Roach boldly claimed he bagged the kid as a fresh offering for her. Spoiler alert. The boys were secretly baiting a massive trap. Instantly blushing like crazy, she got super giddy that her man literally delivered a human present. Meanwhile, Anne had a total meltdown. Thinking her boss was actually dead, she absolutely rushed the husband, screaming her lungs out in pure denial. But the corrupted girl just absolutely decked her with a massive swing. The blonde desperately threw up a shield spell, but that insane punch shattered it instantly, blasting her straight into the dirt. Ice cold, The villainess smirked, stating she was done playing sidekick and was ready to finally lock things down with her guy. Her old boss was officially trash to her now. Strutting up to her man, she bragged about knowing he was obsessed with her all along. She heavily praised him for actually coming back, totally hyped that he was obedient enough to bring the kid as tribute. Getting uncomfortably close, she whispered that once their deity finally dropped down, the whole world would reset, locking them in a romantic happily ever after forever. She even giggled about totally forgetting she brainwashed him, promising to snap him out of it once the summoning finished. But then he dropped a line that sent her into pure panic mode, exposing that her little hypnosis trick was completely broken. He just looked at her and calmly agreed, promising they would stay glued together until the end of time. Tears streaming down his face, he took all the blame, crying that if he wasn't so blind to her crush, this tragedy wouldn't exist. Too late for what-ifs, though. He mercilessly rammed a blade straight through her chest, whispering that he would carry all her sins so her pain could finally end. Boom, flashback time. We jump right back to the guys plotting out this exact kamikaze strategy to survive her wrath. Roach broke it down for Moon. Hitting her right in the feels was their only shot. Trying any other tactic meant instant death for them both. They had to brainstorm a highly emotional angle. Moon was blown away by Roach reading Urka like an open book in just seconds. Roach just shrugged, blaming his sharp adventurer instincts. Reading the room fast is pure survival for him. Hesitate in battle, and you are toast. Volunteering as the decoy, Roach pointed out that Urka would totally murder Moon on sight. The game plan? Roach distracts her up front, while Moon sneaks in for a backstab. Swearing on his family honor, he promised to take the hit if she targeted Moon. Racked with guilt, Roach confessed he started this mess and refused to see others hurt. Moon cut the pity party short. They fist bumped, locking in a promise to survive this mess together. Snap back to reality. A blade is currently sticking right out of Urka's chest. Roach desperately screamed at him to finish the job. Blinking through the shadows, Moon popped up behind her to snatch the prize. Her literal heart. He ripped it out effortlessly. This creepy organ was the twisted love god's remote control. Staring at his bloody hand, it clicked. This wasn't human anatomy, but a dark artifact. Crushing it would instantly strip away all her crazy magic. Losing her mind, she shrieked for her deity and lunged, but Roach dove into the crossfire. Time stopped as everyone realized Roach just took the fatal blow. Her horrifying scream echoed as the dark energy rapidly faded from her veins. Frozen in shock, Moon watched his buddy bleed out with a peaceful grin. He kept that pinky promise from childhood, sticking by her side until his last breath. The crushing weight of his loyalty made her break down until something else interrupted the tears. A massive shockwave of pure magic erupted right from her spot, blasting Moon away. Battered and confused, he couldn't figure out why this was happening after smashing the artifact. Then, a massive blind spot in their master plan finally clicked. A towering crimson mushroom cloud exploded upward. The dark ceremony was actually finished. Murdering Roach provided the ultimate sacrifice, triggering a monstrous rebirth right around trapped Anne. Pushing his teleportation skills to the absolute limit, he dashed in for a daring rescue. Diving straight into the vortex, he yanked on her arm, but she wouldn't even budge. He screamed that some trash deity wasn't getting anywhere near his favorite servant. Despite his desperate tug-of-war, the summoning locked into place, leaving him totally powerless. Out of moves, he pulled his absolute final trump card, screaming for the black book, but the magic dragged him right into the chaos, forcing him to wake up somewhere entirely different. Finding himself completely naked again, he figured this was the grimoire's realm, though the vibe shifted. The spooky tome popped up, prompting him to demand if it was the one teleporting him. He desperately asked if it could pull off a miracle and save the whole squad. Insanely enough, the ancient artifact actually talked back for the very first time. Bobbing wildly in the air, it seemed to point upwards, making him wonder what the big deal was. Glancing up, he found himself locked in a staring contest with an impossibly massive eyeball. Totally creeped out, he glared right back and yelled, "What the heck is that?" This demonic pupil radiated an insane, fiery pressure that made it super hard to even breathe. Quicker than he could react, the creature froze his entire body, locking him inside his own head. Deep down, he instantly knew. This was the infamous Crimson Sun boss, the legendary world destroyer, the ultimate doomsday beast meant to bring absolute apocalyptic ruin, the corrupted king. Moon immediately started beefing with the book, super pissed that it just summoned another dark god to his doorstep. Yup, just another totally casual demonic deity. And Moon was absolutely raging at his so-called guide. He begged for a lifeline, not a terrifying dark overlord. He honestly figured the book was trying to turn him into a monster just like Urka. so they could throw down. That definitely felt like the cursed object's grand master plan. But while he kept yelling at a literal book, that giant evil eye, the corrupted king, was just staring him down. It quickly clocked that Moon was just a regular dude. Moon instantly snapped into a stiff salute and squeaked out, yup. Totally human over here. Stammering hard, he babbled, "Oh mighty corrupted boss, what do you need from this tiny mortal?" The giant eyeball didn't care about his shaking at all. Instead, the freaky entity smelled his desperate craving for power. A bunch of creepy little eyes suddenly popped into existence around the main one. They all locked onto Moon, who played dumb and stuttered. Wait, power for what exactly? He shot a glare back at his magic book, questioning if this chaotic mess was really the rescue plan. Then he straight up called it trash. Honestly though, the annoying guide wasn't completely wrong. You literally gotta fight magic fire with magic fire. So pairing up with a sketchy demonic god might actually be the only viable way to wreck Urka. It was a wildly toxic idea, but even while shaking in his boots, Moon figured everyone loves a massive power-up. Right then, the cursed manual violently ripped out its own page. Moon stood there super confused about the sudden DIY papercraft. The torn sheet floated straight over to the massive boss-level eye. The entity skimmed the floating text, and Moon totally panicked when he noticed the giant eyeball, looking massively triggered by it. Like, how does a literal eyeball look mad? But Moon could totally tell the corrupted king was heavily annoyed by the memo. Even so, the creepy gaze locked back on him and rumbled, "The deal is done." Moon blinked, totally lost. "Wait, what deal?" The voice echoed back, "My power. I'll spot you my energy completely free of charge. But are you seriously down for it? Ready to absorb what you mortals label a demonic god?" Moon calculated the odds. He absolutely had to rescue Anne and his squad. His options were basically zero at this point. He'd totally take the sketchy buff because waiting outside was a stunning girl with crazy curves and mile-long legs who was completely obsessed with him, and she'd cosplay literally anything he asked. Motivated by top-tier waifu dreams, Moon finally agreed to the sketchy pact, yelling at the demonic king to hit him with everything he had. The giant eyeball, aka the Dark Lord himself, seemed amused and rumbled, "Well, aren't you fascinating? For a squishy mortal, I'll lock in this contract. But let's see if you don't instantly break." The boss then laid it out. Survival completely hinged on him, tanking the insane agony of the glow-up. Without warning, the corrupted overlord completely dumped all his crazy energy straight onto the poor dude. But the download process was absolutely unhinged. He straight up lit our main guy completely on fire. Moon was getting aggressively roasted alive. He figured out he wasn't selling his soul, but the physical torment was completely off the charts. Honestly though, the agony meant nothing. His only hyper-focus was dragging Anne and his crew out of this mess. He'd gladly ride out this lethal torture just for her. Moon clamped his teeth and tanked the nightmare while absolute hellfire chewed through his body. Verging on his final form, he stubbornly swore to himself that a high-tier young master like him would absolutely never take an L to that crazy chick, to that basic evil god. The view switches, showing intense blue flames rushing straight at the possessed monster. The beast spots the incoming strike. Way off, you can see Moon safely holding Anne. He already rescued her. The dark deity instantly feels something's off, sensing Moon's insane energy. The wicked deity watches him, wondering if this is the exact same guy from earlier. Moon softly sets Anne by a tree, whispering for her to chill because he'll be right back. The dark god actually asks if Moon's that same dude who acted like Urka's total lapdog. Moon completely ignores the taunt. Instead, he just flat out calls the dark god pathetic. Shook, the dark god panics, realizing it's the corrupted king's power. Moon just scoffs. "If you could hand power to Urka, why is this so unbelievable?" He just glares at him. "God of love, right? What a joke." And your punchline ends right here, with the corrupted king watching. Moon charges his magic, gathering massive energy. He blasts it, totally annihilating the dark god head-on. The creature shrieks in total panic, as the blast literally starts melting it away. Moon was honestly blown away. He never expected this magic to one-shot an evil god, but the monster wasn't fully wiped out. One last gasp proved this fight wasn't over. The fading deity gasped, admitting it was insane that a nobody like Moon wrecked its schemes. Plus, totally just a bug that actually struck a deal with the twisted king. The being kept whining about how lame it was, since the Dark King could never just settle for watching a human for too long. Staring right at Moon, the wicked god totally threatened him to never forget, cause it'd totally bounce back to hunt Moon Campbell down. Moon just froze, mind completely blank, freaking out like crazy. Getting a literal god to drop its full name was definitely not on his bingo card. Sure, the thing caught an L today, but it could totally respawn later. and he'd be priority number one. Panicking, Moon literally yelled at the crazy god that his name was Ariel, not Moon, trying to gaslight it. A few beats later, the smoke where the freak had been totally cleared out. What was left wasn't that weird being, but literally Urka's body. Moon, though, was way too distracted to even notice. He was just totally spiraling, terrified that the wicked god would pull up later to ruin his life. He tried to chill out by reminding himself that the black book always had his back, so if the freak returned, the book would totally save him. He was 100% sure of that. Out of nowhere, someone yelled Moon's name. It was literally Anne calling him young master while sprinting over. She was absolutely bawling because she thought Moon had literally died. Sobbing, Anne told him she was in total shock, that she legit thought he was gone, and felt her own life was completely over without him. Moon, though, totally calmed her down, promising everything was cool and the drama was finished. The twisted god took a fat L. It was totally done. All the crazy drama was finally over. Anne spilled that during the chaos, she only caught a glimpse of him from far away and saw the freak vanish. Then she asked if he was the one who clutched it all. Moon totally realized that dropping the truth bomb about his deal with the twisted god would make her freak out big time. So, he figured a little white lie was definitely the best move right now. He told her he managed to snag and smash the core inside the Turka heart, which basically fixed the whole messy situation. But honestly, he added that dragging out the evil god talk was pointless. Moon told Anne she had a super crucial mission right now. Anne was totally lost, wondering what kind of major task he was even talking about. Moon literally just pointed to where the freak was standing, and there lay Urka, somehow still breathing. He explained she was alive but basically on her last breath and fading fast. So, Anne definitely needed to take this chance to have a quick heart-to-heart with her. Anne walked up to Urka, who mumbled asking if she was her master. Anne totally nodded. Yes. Urka just wanted to know if the nightmare was finally done. Anne was like, yeah, the messed up god controlling you got totally wrecked. Urka got it and thought that was actually a huge win. She said sorry for all her toxic behavior and admitted she had totally been stringing Anne along this whole time. Super confused, Anne asked what she meant by deceiving her. Urka explained that the psycho god controlling her was absolutely not Anne's fault. That deep talk where Anne gave her advice wasn't actually the thing that made her totally snap. The real tea was that Urka never had a true bestie and just craved someone who wouldn't ditch her again. Urka also spilled that she'd had a secret vibe going with that twisted god for ages. Literally years ago, she made many deals with it to level up. She only did it because Ruchi was insanely OP and scaling way too fast for her to keep up. Honestly, hitting up the wicked god was the only way she managed to get those crazy buffs. After their chat, she finally hyped herself up and confessed her massive crush to Ruchi. Anne asked if she got friend-zoned, but Urka said no way. Actually, Ruchi was totally down to make things official with her too. Urka spilled that night, Ruchi admitted he was super into her, but they literally couldn't date. Shook, Anne asked why, since two people vibing so hard should totally link up. Urka hit her with the wildest plot twist. The aunt was literally having his baby. Yeah, seriously? Ruchi's aunt was expecting a kid. Urka kept spilling that Ruchi had a huge crush on her, but was too chicken to say anything, spending every night totally emo with regrets. But with the aunt, the vibe was completely different. Whenever Ruchi got totally wasted, she'd have his back, dropping advice and hyping him up as best she could. One random day, Ruchi found out he got her pregnant. Being a stand-up guy, he totally refused to walk out on his own kid. Anne pointed out the aunt's pregnancy happened insanely fast since they barely knew each other. Asking if Urka didn't think it was super sus, Urka totally admitted the whole thing screamed red flags to her. That's exactly why she went full throttle summoning the wicked god that night, desperately needing the tea on whether the aunt was actually pregnant. When Urka finally snapped out of it after the freak possessed her, the aunt was already gone. It wasn't even Urka who took her out or wiped out the village people. The wicked god literally hijacked her body for a bit. That twisted stunt was just the entity's sick way of proving the aunt was totally faking the pregnancy. Urka revealed the dark god, exposed the baby rumor as total garbage, just a sick trick her aunt used to control Ruchi. She wrapped up by warning Anne about how insanely delicate love actually is. It's so brittle that one fake rumor can totally wreck two soulmates meant to be together. She fixed the deception, but the damage was permanent. Ruchi caught her red-handed, watching her literally murder her aunt in cold blood. Figuring out the wicked deity had hijacked her mind, he jumped in to intervene. To protect Ruchi from being slaughtered by the dark entity, Urka desperately hexed him, turning him straight into a little dog. This hid him from the monster's radar, but unfortunately, the magic stuck forever. With the damage done and no do-overs, Urka started literally crumbling apart, sobbing about how incredibly sorry she felt about the whole mess. Crying, she admitted this disaster ending was never what she actually wanted. Urka sobbed that getting to know her aunt sooner could have stopped this whole nightmare, genuinely believing she wasn't actually evil deep down. With her dying breath, she cried that if she'd just been brave enough to confess to Ruchi a bit sooner, this entire bloodbath could have been avoided entirely. But she accepted that playing the what-if game changes nothing now. Then, she dropped her final goodbye. She told Anne to chase happiness and avoid repeating her disastrous romantic blunders, reminding her how easily romance breaks. Tears streamed down Anne's face while she and Moon watched the dawn break. Urka's fading ashes drifted away, hinting at a bittersweet fresh start. A few hours later on the parent fields, the duo laid Erika and Ruchi to rest. Moon noticed Anne wrapped things up super fast, whereas he spent extra time shoveling dirt over the graves. Eventually, they finished the gloomy chore, placing a wooden marker right beneath a massive tree, hoping they'd finally find peace. The pair knelt down to pay their absolute final respects. Moon told her they could finally leave this crazy drama behind, get back to hunting, and do things properly from now on. But catching Anne's weird vibe, he asked what was up. She admitted this whole disaster made her realize how incredibly toxic her own feelings were. She confessed her intense obsession with the young master was completely twisted and totally out of line. Because of that obsession, practically the entire town ended up dead. Despite trying to kill off her crush after messing up so badly, she literally could not turn off her emotions. She then nervously asked if he actually still cared about her despite the absolute chaos she caused. He pointed out she was probably mixing up toxic possessiveness with genuine affection. He explained that pure obsession can definitely mimic romance, but deep down, there are wildly different vibes that easily trick people. Anne nodded, admitting she definitely mistook jealousy for real love. Internally, though, Moon wasn't fully convinced about his own feelings yet. He realized everybody loves differently, meaning only she truly understood the chaotic stuff going on inside her head. Figuring she was finally done with that creepy phase, he thought they actually had a solid shot together now. Staring at the daylight, he deeply questioned what romance even meant in the grand scheme of things. Right in the middle of his deep thinking session, Anne broke the silence by asking something. She brought up his basement confession about craving a totally regular dynamic with her, free from that whole Anturi baggage. So, she proposed hitting the reset button. That exact phrase immediately bounced around in his head. Hitting pause, he demanded some immediate clarity before making moves. He bluntly asked if she was secretly planning to drag him back home just to lock him up again. She insisted she just wanted them back at the estate simply because it was their actual house, stressing it was her childhood stomping ground. She made it clear that huge place was her true home. She promised him there would be absolutely zero cage business this time around. She kept going, wanting to wipe the slate clean, not as his official girl, but purely as his dedicated servant, doing whatever he wanted. Her goal was to slowly level up into a healthy, everyday couple over time. Blushing hard, she quietly asked if getting her old servant job back was even an option. In response, he grabbed her hand super firmly, completely baffling her. He fired back, asking why she'd even bother asking something so insanely obvious. He confidently declared he still totally wanted her taking care of him. Yandere phase or not, he was absolutely still into her. Feeling like an absolute saint, he told her to pack it up so they could go crash at home immediately. Smirking playfully, she agreed. He instantly hyped himself up, figuring that successfully curing a literal stalker girl definitely made him an absolute legend. Like, honestly, most guys who try pulling that stunt in other tales end up totally wrecked. So Moon is totally convinced that since Anne is finally acting chill again, that super creepy prophecy from the Dark Diary about her ending him is totally cancelled. Bro really thinks he bagged the ultimate victory. Fast forward 2 days though. They pull up to the Campbell estate. Our boy grabs a bite, and boom, lights out. That crazy spinning feeling hits hard, and the roof staring back at him looks way too recognizable. Yup, you guessed it. Our guy is locked right back in Anne's tiny bedroom. Literally, all his hard work just vanished into thin air. He is basically screaming internally, wondering how he fumbled so hard. The plot's gravity probably just dragged him right back into his crazy stalker girl's trap. Out of nowhere, the metal bracelets clicking around his wrists pop open, right along with the ones trapping his ankles. Someone hits him with that fancy lord title. And surprise, surprise, it is literally just Anne making her grand comeback. She basically claims he completely passed out from being super tired after dinner, so she just wanted to mess around with him for a bit. Her tiny space was the ultimate hiding spot to dodge the other workers. Naturally, Our boy is absolutely shaking in his boots. Bro is completely clueless as to why she stripped him down to his basics and locked him up all over again. She drops a quick apology, claiming she figured he would completely panic and try dipping the second he woke up in her space. So she kept him tied up just to keep him grounded. Still, our guy has to ask the million-dollar question, why drag him here in the first place? She hits back, saying he probably caught amnesia. But right before his big escape, she was literally about to reveal something he was absolutely dying to see. Suddenly, the memories hit him like a truck, bringing back exactly what she promised before he bailed from the estate. In case you forgot, she was hyping up this super specific look for him, but dude totally ghosted her, using those door traps he rigged. Watching her slide into a literal rabbit costume brings the whole memory crashing back. She casually mentions trying to fix the fit since it is super snug. Seconds later, she gives the green light, showing off the final look. She flexes, knowing his total obsession with dark colors and that super smooth, intoxicating vibe. So, she totally copped that spicy little two-piece just for his eyes. And yep, we get the full view of her rocking the rabbit aesthetic. She straight up asks for his review on the fit. Bro is literally buffering, but a second later, he goes full anime with a massive nosebleed. Safe to say, he did not just vibe with it, he was absolutely obsessed. Getting super close, she admits she totally fumbled by ignoring his boundaries before. From now on, she promises he is calling all the shots. The girl keeps closing the gap while our boy is out here leaking crimson from his face like crazy. She practically begs to run the entire session exactly his way, giving him total control. Then she just chills there, waiting for his move. You guys better get why I am completely skipping the juicy bits. Things get way too wild for the algorithm. Knowing you thirsty bunch, you get a tiny sneak peek. We skip ahead after the madness. And let us just say it was top tier. Honestly, they could have kept the party going. Cut to her waking up, barely blinking, before she starts rambling apologies to her boss. She complains about totally crashing, muttering about how they were supposed to be way further along by now. Mid-sentence, it clicks that her guy is completely missing. She starts screaming his name, totally forgetting she is basically wearing zero clothes. Yep, totally in her birthday suit. Give it a few seconds though, and she throws her fit back on. While she is still fixing her hair, this super long cat noise drops. Then Noel checks if she is up, and yeah, the new girl is named Noel. Right then, we spot this tiny chick hanging out with a whole squad of baby cats and a random coworker. She checks in on her health, leaving our girl totally baffled, questioning why she even cares. The kid just spills the tea. Turns out, their boss literally told everyone this morning that his favorite worker caught a nasty bug and felt like trash, so he gave strict orders to let her chill in her room without any annoying interruptions. During this whole chat, you can see the kid clutching a fuzzy little furball. The confused girl immediately demands to know who exactly owns the furry squad, and the newbie spills that their boss bought the whole batch from this girl named Wine at the bazaar earlier today. Then she drops her whole backstory. So Wine is just an average teen from the shoemaking district. Whenever she is not stuck in class, she is out playing hero for random street cats. She basically acted like their personal chef. The catch? Her folks had insane allergies and literally banned any fuzzballs from crossing the front door. To make things even crazier, the new semester was literally right around the corner, and she was getting shipped off to this intense academy where she actually had to sleep on campus. That basically ruined any chance she had of playing cat mom. In pure panic, she started begging rich households to take the squad in. After hustling all day, this random dude pulls up to the stalls. Cue our main guy, Moon, totally flexing his cash to adopt the entire furry crew. Wine shared that Moon literally handed her 200 Manarumo, the local cash, for school. She called him a genuinely sweet guy. Suddenly, all the pieces clicked for Anne. Still, she figured 3 kittens was a lot, but Noel whispered there were actually 4. At first, the young master just wanted 1. But Wine told him that if he adopted, he totally needed the whole squad, Mama Cat included, because families stick together. Moon thought Wine's logic made sense, so he just brought every single kitten home. Then Wine asked Monica, the other maid, if she could maybe visit the kittens sometimes. Monica said he made it clear Wine was always welcome. Wine gushed about how awesome Moon was. Right after they talked, Anne asked Noel where the young master was hiding out. Noel said he just got back from the market. Soon after, Anna tapped on Moon's door. He called out that it was unlocked. Anna peeked in, catching Moon distracted with the kittens. Moon told her she looked super exhausted, so he totally let her sleep in, but Anna completely tuned him out. She literally just tackled him into a massive hug. Anna admitted she had a total panic attack, Terrified, he left for the academy without a goodbye. Moon promised that despite registration starting, he'd literally never bounce without saying bye. He completely reassured her, making sure she knew she had absolutely nothing to stress about. Calming down, Anna asked how on earth he ran errands and returned with a whole cat litter. Moon explained he remembered Anna asking if he liked cats, figuring she secretly wanted one. So walking through the market earlier, he spotted a pet shop and found this exact little fluff ball. Moon spilled that he named the little guy Mumu and asked Anna if she liked him. He joked the kitten was his twin, rocking the exact same eye and fur colors. It was honestly just a mini version of himself, stuck in an outrageously cute kitten body. Scooping up the cat, Moon handed it to Anna, calling it a special mini-me gift just for her. He added he'd rush back from the academy as soon as possible. He knew she wanted to tag along, but rules banned it. Plus, Anna's main job right now was holding down the fort for the Tutuki family back home. So basically, while Moon was stuck at the academy, little Mumu would be her cuddle buddy. He asked if she liked it, and Anna was obviously obsessed. She squealed that she was totally in love with Mumu and swore she'd spoil him rotten. Hours later, dead in the night, Moon spaced out in bed. His shadow assassin skills leveled up 3 times, totally insane. But then, sure, throwing down with Urka did not level up his magic at all. But honestly, he still scored a massive win during that showdown. He finally snapped Anne out of her weird zombie phase and brought the real her back. Moon figured that whole creepy prophecy about Anne murdering him was totally off the table now, especially since she was acting like herself again. Moving forward, his only job at the academy was to steer clear of Ariel, that totally stuck-up main character. Play it cool, and he would be golden. Suddenly, a late-night knock at his door totally interrupted his thoughts. Who could be visiting at this hour? Surprise? Surprise, it was Anne. Moon blinked, asking why she was not knocked out in bed yet. She admitted she was tossing and turning. Her mind was racing because her young master was leaving for school tomorrow, meaning they would be apart for ages. Totally getting where she was coming from, Moon gently ushered her inside. Flashing a soft smile, he pointed out that since he would be ditching the mansion for a good while, maybe she should crash in his room tonight, especially since she clearly could not catch any sleep anyway. She immediately asked if they were doing their usual routine and started shedding her outfit. Panicking a bit, Moon quickly stopped her, telling her to hold up. Totally lost, she asked what he meant. Smiling warmly, Moon told her they were switching things up completely tonight. Wait, completely different? Anne echoed, super intrigued. Flash forward a bit, and they were just chilling side by side in bed. No crazy hookups or anything, literally just talking. Anne asked if he actually liked just laying around doing nothing. He promised her this mattered too, since real affection is way more than just physical stuff. It is all about deep chats, building that emotional bond, and truly understanding the person you care about. Snuggling closer, Anne whispered how much she hated the idea of leaving her young master's side. After surviving all that recent drama, it sucked that they had to split up right when everything finally went back to normal. Moon reminded her that a school semester is literally only 4 months. Once break rolled around, he would head straight back to Mansenberg. Pouting, Anne argued that 4 months felt like an eternity and practically begged him not to go. Trying to cheer her up, he promised that if she sent him letters, he would drop everything to write back instantly. Anne? He whispered back as she called out to him again. She murmured that having him this close, feeling his breathing and body heat, was driving her crazy. She admitted she was totally at her limit. Since he'd be gone for 4 whole months, she begged him for just one unforgettable night together. Shutting his eyes, Moon figured why not giving in to her request felt right. Honestly, his own self-control was hanging by a thread. He was crazy about her, especially after that whole bunny suit incident. He'd originally planned to take things super slow before crossing any major lines, but now that she had put it out there, backing down was officially off the table. Shedding his shirt, Moon warned her he was taking charge tonight, telling her to just lay back and relax. She whispered that she was completely his to command, whatever the young boss wanted. While they were busy, the camera panned straight to that sketchy black book, zooming in on some seriously cryptic notes scribbled across the page. Jealousy drive, 100%, fate override, engaged, partial wipe, done, and right at the bottom, a creepy sign-off, keep pushing. Moon Campbell. What any of that actually meant was a total puzzle, but you just know it's gonna drop a massive plot twist on us later. Cut to a totally new vibe, St. Mary's Academy. This place would be Moon's new turf for the next 4 months. The shot pans over the school's massive pool before landing on someone's foot. Boom, it's Ariel making her grand comeback. Finally, one of the original side characters from day 1 is back in action. She cannonballs right into the water, splashing everywhere. Showing up 7 days early was totally worth it just to hog this gigantic pool with her sister. She shouts to ask if Leah loves the water, and the camera cuts to her. Ariel's sibling looked like a whole new person compared to her early days. She'd completely glowed up. Leah shouted back that even with classes paused, showing up early meant teachers were already lurking around campus. She was low-key stressed that throwing a loud pool party would land them in massive detention, but Ariel told her to chill out, bragging that she'd already sweet-talked the staff. They had full clearance to hang out in the water till late. Out of nowhere, Ariel lunges across the pool, making Leah flinch in panic. Catching her off guard, Ariel cheekily squeezed her chest. Ariel jokes that it's only been 4 weeks since they last hung out, but her sister's chest has totally leveled up. While playfully poking them to ask when that happened, Ariel spots something else. Her sister's dark hair is seriously fading into a lighter shade. Leah completely missed the glow-up herself and jokes that some god must have just blessed her. But Ariel quickly catches her sister acting super anxious, which is way out of character. Leah admits she's terrified of going full blonde, fully aware of how much Ariel despises a certain fair-haired someone. Wait, you mean that jerk? Ariel scoffs, adding that a total trash bag like him could never compare to her precious sibling. She tells Leah to chill out, promising she'll adore her no matter what she looks like. Sighing in massive relief, Leah drops her secret panic. Ariel just laughs, calling her a total goofball for stressing over nothing this whole time. But then the thought of Moon pops into Ariel's head, and her face instantly screams pure rage. That absolute idiot had already crossed the line by turning her coming-of-age bash into a literal hit job involving Princess Celia. Sure, that was the exact moment Moon stopped a killer from putting a blade through the royal heir, but Ariel insists his reckless stunt nearly got the princess seriously injured anyway. She heavily warns Leah to steer completely clear of that walking red flag if she wants zero drama. Leah claps back, defending him by saying the whole royal hit wasn't actually his doing. Even the palace basically dropped a press release, confirming the princess only made it out alive because of him. Leah spills that right after the chaos, Her Royal Highness personally recruited her to patch up Moon's critical injuries. It finally clicked for Ariel that explained Leah vanishing for a solid 60 minutes. Leah nodded, admitting she spent all that time nursing Moon. She had to hold the fort until the palace doctor showed up, doing whatever it took to keep the guy breathing. Plus, Leah pointed out he literally put his neck on the line for the princess. Honestly, she kind of respected his guts for that. Ariel cut her right off. Whoa, hold up. Do not drop his name. He isn't special. He's just a total idiot. She confessed she could not ignore his bravery with Celia, though, still, his actual personality made her sick. Honestly, it baffled her how two totally brilliant parents ended up raising such a clueless loser of a kid. But her tone shifted, suddenly backing up her sister's point. Leah totally nailed it. The dude was acting totally different lately. Back then, he literally ignored her existence and always forgot who she was. It made zero sense. The old him was super flimsy and reckless. Definitely not the type to play hero for anybody. Stretching out in the water, Ariel declared they were officially done discussing that creep. She planned to soak, shower, and bail, swearing she would literally snap Moon in two if he dared to ruin her vibe. Chatting away, Ariel admitted she had been dying to ask Leah about a certain topic forever. Leah got curious, and Ariel straight up asked how she managed to get her chest looking so stacked. She begged to know if there was some magic trick for massive growth, desperately wanting to learn the routine. But Leah busted that myth fast. No holy miracles or top-secret hacks involved at all. Her big secret? Chugging tons of dairy. 3 days passed, and the school semester officially kicked off. The campus looked absolutely massive from a distance. Twin knight statues guarded the gates as kids flooded inside. Right then, Moon strolled up looking incredibly sharp. The sheer scale of the Imperial Magic School blew his mind way bigger than he pictured. Lost in his own world, he just chilled and walked slow while everyone else panicked about being tardy. He figured, dodging that snobby main girl Ariel was smart, assuming campus life would be a totally stress-free zone. Hitting the books actually hyped him up, considering it had been over 10 years since his last class. He swore to crush his grades here. But suddenly, a massive crowd in the middle of the quad caught his eye. Kids gossiping about some drama totally sparked his curiosity. A show? Fixing his bag, he casually strolled over to scope out the drama for himself. The big fuss? Ariel screaming at some dude. It was Ammon, a guy destined to be Moon's flunky in the main plot. Except, our boy had zero clue who he was yet. Ariel was trashing the guy, and he gave it right back. She ordered him to bounce if he was bored, refusing to act like an obedient pet. In her eyes, he was just Moon's lapdog. and she had zero patience for his stupid games. Flashing a toxic smirk, the guy called her a complete idiot and straight up demanded a brawl. She genuinely looked stuck. The whole student body stared, whispering how much it sucked she always got targeted. Some green-haired girl with glasses scoffed about a fourth year picking on a sophomore. So cringe. Off stage, Moon munched a sausage, sizing her up. It felt like the ultimate chance to scout her skills before their unavoidable clash. She stayed super chill, though. These clowns picked fights constantly and always got wrecked, so whatever. Iman bragged that sending a scrub like Crew last time was a massive fail. He never thought she could actually take down Crew, but promised things would change since Campbell Psycho was about to absolutely demolish her. Catching that crazy nickname, it clicked for Moon this guy was his future lackey. Ariel just scoffed, daring Eamon to bring it on so she could floor him again. But Eamon smirked, dropping the bomb that he was not her opponent. Moon Campbell was. Immediately, the entire crowd whipped around to stare at a totally confused Moon. His future minion was a complete moron. He literally just got here clueless. He silently roasted the guy's intelligence. Meanwhile, the onlookers freaked, recognizing the actual Moon Campbell. No way this guy was real. The gossip surrounding Moon was absolutely insane. Girls literally whispered that making eye contact with him could knock you up. Like, seriously? Who comes up with that? Since when does a stare come with a baby bump? Someone else chimed in saying that a night at Moon Campbell's place would definitely end in some massive, scandalous regrets. His track record was wild. Word on the street was his exes could fill up an entire 40-seat lecture hall. It suddenly hit Moon the original guy he was playing was absolute trash. The dude was notorious around campus for being a massive player. Out of nowhere, Pessim and Ariel crashed the party, practically ready to throw down. Ariel glared at him, bragging she saw him coming a mile away. What's wrong? She mocked. Still the same old zero-talent loser hiding behind your attack dogs, huh? Absolutely pathetic as usual. Damn. The girl really wasn't pulling any punches. She didn't let up. Too mean? Deal with it, you jerk. Total savage. A crowd was already forming, totally hyped for a brawl. The Campbell heir was basically a walking disaster. After all, everyone was taking mental bets on whether Moon would absolutely wreck her, or if Ariel would mop the floor with him. Instead of swinging, though, Moon shocked everyone by screaming her name. Even Ariel flinched. But the real plot twist? He actually said sorry and promised he wasn't there to cause drama. Absolute crickets from the crowd. This was the Academy's worst bully, and he was out here acting all apologetic. Ariel looked super lost. This was totally off script for him. But then Iman shoved his way in, loudly reminding his boss that Campbell royalty shouldn't be bowing down to a nobody like her. Moon whipped around, demanding to know why his lackey was making things so extra. Iman and two of the backup guys insisted they had to wreck Ariel right then for disrespecting him. They couldn't just stand by while their boss looked weak in public. Right? Moon just gave him a deadpan look and asked who exactly greenlit that attack. Iman totally froze, tripping over his words. The henchman admitted he acted on his own. Nobody ordered him to step up. Moon coldly pointed out that going rogue and starting fights definitely earned a massive lecture. Pulling him aside, Moon strictly warned him to chill with the theatrics because he had a bigger endgame playing out. He then told Iman to grab the guys and give Ariel a legit, genuine apology. After that, they were supposed to take his cash and go treat themselves to some decent cafeteria food. But first, they had to play crowd control and shoo away all the nosy spectators. Moon even took the blame, admitting his own mess caused his minion to take the heat. Dropping a total bomb, Moon said sorry and called him brother. Iman was practically in tears. Free lunch cash, taking the blame, and getting the bro card? The boss was being way too cool. Moments later, Iman and the backup squad marched right up to Ariel. She braced for a fight, daring them to try something. But jaw-droppingly, all three bowed deep and said sorry. The whole audience was shook. They were totally expecting a brutal beatdown, not a peace treaty. Ariel's eyes were practically bugging out. This was definitely not on her bingo card today. The trio then started shooing everyone away, yelling that the entertainment was over. Moon casually stepped up next to Ariel while she eyed him suspiciously, demanding to know his real game plan. He dropped another apology, swearing he wasn't there to cause any damage, and started explaining. He confessed he originally wanted to say sorry for his past toxic garbage in private, but figured catching her alone would look super sketchy. So, this massive crowd, it actually turned into the perfect setup to clear the air publicly. With half the school watching, Ariel finally blurted out, asking if this was some sick joke. Moon looked genuinely confused, wondering how she couldn't tell he was being 100% real with her. He asked if he needed to do more, dropping yet another "my bad." Ariel actually blushed, completely lost for words, making it crystal clear. He promised that his bullying days were totally over, and he regretted all of it. He literally offered to drop to his knees right then and there just to prove he meant every word. Ariel timidly closed the gap between them, whispering that she totally got what was going on. She called him out, claiming he only buttered her up to drop her defenses and use her as a stepping stone to Leah. She smirked, pointing out how obvious his massive crush was since he was always caught staring at her big sister. Leaning in dead serious, Ariel fiercely declared that Leah's fabulous assets were strictly off-limits to guys like him. She warned Moon Campbell to completely wipe the thought from his mind, claiming exclusive sibling rights to Leah's gorgeous curves. That totally caught Moon off guard, making him blush. Stumbling over his words, he finally mumbled that since they were already crossing into this awkward territory, it was time to clear the air about the whole Leah situation. He swore to give it to her absolutely straight. Looking deadpan, he dropped the bombshell that he actually preferred the itty-bitty committee over the heavy-duty ones. He confidently claimed the massive, bouncy ones were way too much to handle and genuinely just weren't his vibe. He explained he was totally into modest sizes, boldly admitting that an absolute washboard flat chest was his ultimate dream. Ariel instantly decked him right in the jaw. Blushing fiercely, she snapped that she saw right through his lies. She brought up his shady track record of playing with top-heavy girls, while completely ignoring the flat-chested ones. She furiously demanded to know how he could stand there and spout such absolute garbage with a straight face. Pushing the issue, she accused him of making the whole thing up just to mock her, proving he was still the same jerk. Moon frantically backpedaled, begging her to chill out and insisting it was just a dumb prank that went sideways. Swearing he was being honest this time, he dropped the act and gave her a deeply genuine apology. He promised he would never lay a finger on her or Leah, swearing off any creepy or shady intentions toward either sister. Giving his word, he told them to relax, ensuring his entire crew would stay completely far away from them. Jumping back to his feet, Moon admitted he had totally planned to score her an epic makeup gift once classes started. Scratching his head, he confessed he came empty-handed today since the crazy schedule completely ruined his shopping plans. All he had on him was his recent allowance, 1 million shiny alios, practically burning a hole in his pocket. Figuring cold hard cash would just piss her off, he playfully asked her to use her magic to fix his half-eaten hot dog instead. Quoting some cheesy proverb, he claimed true warrior bonds flow like water, and a good meal fixes bad blood. Moon instantly bolted, shouting over his shoulder that he would definitely hunt down a killer apology present later, but right now he had to hit the books. Sprinting away, he realized deep down that Ariel didn't owe him any forgiveness. Regardless of her holding a grudge, he was absolutely determined to keep leveling up and ditching his toxic traits. If she kept hating him, he would accept it, totally owning up to the massive train wreck he used to be, even if his body had been hijacked back then. He firmly yelled a final goodbye to Ariel Pankar. He mused that they might actually be friends someday. Desperate to avoid adding any more haters to his current run, Ariel just froze, completely brain-fried. Glancing down at the hot dog she was still clutching, she let out a mortified shriek. Snapping out of it, she screamed at the top of her lungs, demanding Moon to get back there immediately. Moon peeked over his shoulder, only to see Ariel sprinting at him like a guided missile, while the camera panned to someone dangling their legs overhead. You could hear their chaotic banter echoing from miles away down the corridor. Ariel shamelessly yelled that cash was perfectly fine, suddenly finding his massive 1 million coin stash extremely tempting. Panicking, Moon told her to back off, flat out refusing to drop a whole million as a simple sorry because that was insane. The mystery stalker finally stepped out of the shadows. Surprise, surprise. It was the shady girl dealing black market elixirs to him. Talk about a wild crossover. She chuckled, thinking his attempt to literally buy his way out of the doghouse was absolutely hilarious. She couldn't help but realize that ever since that insane night he rescued Celia, Moon had pulled a total 180. Flashing a wicked grin, she mentally calculated the net worth of the Campbell family's golden boy. He was completely clueless, but insanely loaded. She debated whether she should start messing with him just to get close. Figuring Celia was already crushing on him anyway, she reasoned her friend wouldn't mind if she cut in line and made a move first. Was Moon seriously about to have another crazy stalker glued to him on top of Anne? The view flipped to a pair of older dudes running the academy. One sighed in relief that the chaotic mob had finally cleared out. They wouldn't even have to step in. One guy proudly introduced himself as Pri, head of Street Mary's magic department. Drama's over, so why are they still standing that close? Pri wonders aloud. He nudges his buddy, asking if his lip-reading skills can catch their whispering from way over here. That buddy is Professor Krent, the school's resident potions master. The kid's actually saying sorry to Ariel, Krent translates, and bribing her with half a hot dog. Krent totally cracks up, finding the whole sausage peace offering absolutely hilarious. Looks like the Campbell heir really flipped the script, he adds. His new vibe is honestly pretty entertaining. Director Pre shuts that down instantly. In his mind, there's zero chance Moon Campbell would ever ditch his toxic ways. Pre argues the kid is way too arrogant, constantly throwing around his Duke status to do whatever he wants. Flashback to Moon, just strolling down the hallway while a group of girls literally run for their lives. Pre reminds the professor about Moon's long history of stirring up massive trouble. No way he apologized, Pre insists. He's always bullied Ariel ruthlessly just for being an illegitimate noble. But Professor Krent from Potions isn't backing down. He swears his lip reading is spot on. And Moon honestly looks like he means every single word. Director Pre loses his chill, calling the whole idea absolute garbage. If that punk actually changed, I'll literally eat this wooden desk. He rants. Krent teases him for being a total hater, but Pre claims his personal feelings have nothing to do with it. To him, the guy is just a massive walking embarrassment to St. Mary's Academy. I mean, get this. Last year, it took Moon a whole 12 months just to nail a basic flashlight spell. Total failure for an elite school. Still, Krent points out that Pre runs the magic department. Why not just kick the kid out? Trouble is, they can't just boot him yet. They legally have to give him a shot to glow up and prove his worth. If they did end up dropping him, they'd probably just say his magic sucks. But he's a physical brawler, taking after his dad. Yeah, Moon's dad is basically a legendary warrior. Zero magic involved. Pre still can't wrap his head around Moon being such a flop, especially since both his parents are top-tier geniuses. Plus, despite his garbage grades, Moon technically hasn't broken a single official school rule. Honestly, expelling him is basically impossible anyway. His family is stupidly powerful in the Empire, and it goes way beyond his parents. Moon's family tree is packed with uncles and cousins, controlling huge chunks of the imperial government. So, if they actually tried to formally expel him, his political powerhouse of a family would absolutely crush the paperwork. Basically, the guy has max-level plot armor. A salty director definitely doesn't have the clout to get him kicked to the curb. Krent then spills the tea, saying he's been secretly watching Moon and noticed something super weird recently. The dude actually grabbed some random litter off the ground and tossed it in the trash. Every other snobby student just walked past it. Even crazier, he rescued a fallen bird's nest and gently placed it back on a branch. The wildest part? The tiny birds weren't even scared of him. They were totally vibing with him. Krent smiles, genuinely convinced the kid has gone through a massive character arc. He drops another wild story. Moon spotted a crying girl and actually handed her a tissue to dry her tears. Problem is, she totally panicked when she realized it was the infamous Moon Campbell and bolted like she saw a ghost. Even with that major fail, the professor realizes Moon is playing a totally new game right now. Case in point, right now, he's literally bowing deeply to the statue of the school's original founder. Director Pre's jaw absolutely drops, because literally nobody has paid respect to that dusty old statue in years. Cut to our main guy, Moon, internally stressing that he desperately needs a good guy rebrand to fix his garbage reputation. So he's pulling this stunt specifically to score major brownie points with the staff. But mid-bow, Moon spots a sketchy crack right around the statue's neck. Turns out, the head totally snapped off last year, and the absolute menace who broke it back then was none other than past life Moon. He's also the genius who glued it back on. Moon nervously prays to himself, swearing off his past toxic era for good. The two guys watching Moon couldn't help but notice his insane glow-up and total attitude check. I mean, back when those two first enrolled, they definitely didn't bother paying respects to the founder's statue. Nobody really did that. Yet here, Moon was totally doing it. The older dude, rocking a massive white beard, roasted the director, asking when he'd pay up and literally eat a table since Moon's total turnaround meant he lost the bet. The director stormed off super salty, snapping that one single day of playing nice didn't prove squat. He needed at least a few more weeks to actually buy into this whole good guy act. He kept rambling about how people don't just magically flip their entire personality overnight. He was dead set on the idea that the Campbell kid was scheming, swearing he'd keep a super close eye on Moon to catch him slipping. The other guy from the Potions crew just laughed off how incredibly stubborn the director was acting. On top of that, he had a gut feeling this semester would be way more hype than the last. Cut to the St. Mary's Academy dorms. The dorm lady hands Moon the key to room 526. Moon hits her with a super sweet smile and a polite, "Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great one," which she totally reflects right back at him. Then it clicks for her. She recognizes him as that notoriously chaotic rich kid. She remembers all the dorm moms trash-talking him and his insanely wealthy background, but his actual vibe totally threw her off. His insane manners actually made her tear up a bit. He was seriously charming. Stepping inside, Moon realizes the place is absolutely massive, like, way bigger than his old setup at the Campbell estate. He immediately claims it as his ultimate safe space for grinding, hitting the books, and doing literally whatever it takes to level up and get completely ripped. He totally faceplants onto the mattress, and while it's super plush, it definitely doesn't beat the insane comfort of his bed back home. Moon realizes he's totally off the hook until tomorrow, since that's when the big opening ceremony and classes actually kick off. With his whole afternoon wide open, he figures he might as well grab a shower, throw on fresh fits, and just vibe for a bit. Stepping out of the bathroom looking super fresh, he catches his reflection and realizes he is actually getting pretty buff. Grinding away in the black book dimension on top of his regular workouts was totally paying off big time. He can straight up feel the crazy stat boost, but then he spots a sketchy tattoo on his back. Yep, the Corrupted King's brand. Quick recap. Moon bagged that insane buff from the Corrupted King just to take down the love god hiding out in the art. And evidently, that chaotic energy was still chilling inside him, literally stamped right onto his skin. He had literally just interrogated the black book about getting rid of it, but the total silent treatment was super sus. That's when it clicked: the king's dark skill was definitely still hanging around in his system. Moon casually snapped his fingers to spark a tiny flame, and it totally worked, giving him this weird, phantom limb vibe with the dark magic. The mind games were real, mostly because his trusty dark book refused to confirm if he was still packing that spell. It was a total trip, feeling completely drained, yet knowing the power was absolutely there. Lost in thought, he figured he could still tap into the boss's aura, though it was insanely nerfed right now. Like, so incredibly weak he literally blew out the spark with a tiny sigh. It really made him rethink if he even wanted to mess around with this specific skill tree anymore. He'd have to grind like crazy to make it viable, especially since that dark spell he just tested was honestly worse than a basic flashlight cantrip. After a quick reality check, Moon decided to totally drop that build and move on. Clashing with those chaotic deities had been nothing but a massive headache, and he was completely over their toxic drama. Plus, no insane god would dare crash his vibe here at St. Maria Imperial Academy, literally the most elite school around. This place was packed with the country's heaviest hitters, and Moon was hyped to spend his next 3 years grinding to become absolute top tier. And obviously, he'd be using his trusty dark book to hard carry his training arc. The ultimate goal? Get insanely, ridiculously overpowered. Like, swat an evil god like a fly levels of overpowered. He nodded to himself, completely hyped about this genius master plan. But laying there staring at the ceiling, reality hit. He was still way too weak and seriously needed to start try-harding his magic and classes. Ready to lock in right that second, the black book totally drop-kicked him right in the face, just like old times. Boom. We were dragged right back into the black book's realm, a crazy place we totally hadn't visited forever. Moon looked super buff in there, totally hyped and ready to grind. He figured letting the artifact handle his workout routine was a total win, since it always had his back anyway. Beaming, Moon bragged it took 197 brutal deaths to unlock the artifact's second tier. Yep, he literally died 197 times just to level up this realm and unlock a hardcore workout. Thanks to all those insane retries, he picked up tons of sick moves and totally knew how to survive. Fun fact, whenever someone kicked the bucket here, they basically turned into a Kron Knight, a super creepy ghost trapped in this book. Next up, we spotted Urka's hubby, Roach, rocking a sword and shield. He was basically the ultimate stage 2 boss. Then, boom, hard cut to the girls' dorms over at Santa Maria Academy. We catch Ariel chilling in her room right as her sister, Leah, randomly pops up at the doorway. Leah needed to spill some tea. She caught wind of some crazy gossip linking her sis with Moon, and desperately needed the actual truth. Ariel told her the drama blew up way too fast. She was totally shocked because she never, in a million years, expected Moon to say sorry. Leah basically gasped, totally shook, because she honestly thought the whole apology thing was just fake news. She assumed people were just talking trash. But Ariel insisted it was completely legit. It literally went down just a couple of hours ago today. So Leah instantly jumped to the wildest conclusion. Ariel and Moon seriously had a baby together. Ariel looked absolutely mind-blown, asking how on earth they could pop out a kid in mere hours. But her sis explained the campus paper dropped a massive scoop claiming Ariel got knocked up by Moon right after their recent fight. While they were gossiping, the camera zoomed in on a cool ring, resting on a tiny desk, a totally crucial artifact. Ariel snatched up the campus gazette, skimmed the trashy article, and basically screamed about whichever absolute loser typed up that garbage. Her having Moon Campbell's baby? Literally the most insane thing ever. Leah pointed out the writers grabbed actual facts and completely mashed them up with toxic fake news. This tabloid drama was going viral across campus. Plus, it claimed Moon was basically juggling Ariel and 13 other girls from rival clans. Ariel snapped at Leah to quit spouting that nonsense. She swore that tomorrow, she'd march straight over to the journalism club and have a very aggressive little chat with them. Zero chance. She'd let them broadcast crazy lies about her carrying Moon's baby, being his dumped ex, or suddenly turning into his baby mama and stuff. Leah quickly corrected her, noting the gossip wasn't just about being an ex, it was about being a dumped teen mom. Ariel called her sister a total clown since none of that was real, glaring and asking if Leah was just trolling her. Then Ariel playfully tackled her sis, calling Leah a hilarious brat. She teased her about her chest looking a bit bigger today, joking that she absolutely loved her sister's assets. Ariel smirked, daring Leah to try and keep trolling her after that. Cracking up, Leah begged her to quit it, throwing her hands up and promising to drop the teasing. Once they stopped messing around, Leah mentioned it was lucky Ariel wasn't overly stressed, since tomorrow was the huge campus opening event. She announced she was heading back to crash, knowing the next morning was going to be insanely massive. Ariel pouted, asking if her sister wouldn't rather have a sleepover since tomorrow was such a major deal. But Leah passed, saying she desperately needed a shower and had to grind out some healing magic practice for her major. They swapped sweet dreams, and the camera finally settled back inside Ariel's solo dorm. Flopping onto her mattress, she totally zoned out, stressing over the fact that the underground market got totally wiped out. That place was literally her only hustle for paying rent. Now, the night before the huge event, this massive money panic was eating her alive. She desperately needed a brand new side gig, but juggling a job with insane homework was going to suck. Plus, she already knew this semester would be brutally hard. Ariel was absolutely furious. She dropped crazy cash on magical tuition and was practically totally broke. On top of that, the campus tabloid dragging her name through the mud was seriously annoying her. Cooling down a bit, Ariel asked her mentor for another hustle to score some cash, since the underground scene was dead. Right then, Ariel's shiny band, that super crucial artifact I hyped up earlier, sparked to life while she was whining about literally starving from being so broke. A spooky female phantom popped right out of the jewelry, looking totally witchy, and introduced herself as Ariel's magical mentor. The mentor pointed out that since Ariel's magic stats had leveled up insanely high, tons of fresh money-making options just unlocked for her. Ariel rolled her eyes, blaming her mentor entirely for making her learn those crazy expensive antique spells. Those rare hexes totally made her stick out. Back in the day, Ariel pushed enchanted parchments through the underground scene, basically the shady black market. Now that the whole operation is busted, she's seriously stressing out. Her mentor chimes in, wondering why she won't just pick up some everyday beginner tricks, seeing as she's completely clueless about them. Ariel totally shuts that down. She couldn't care less about beginner stuff, and only wants to master the absolute heaviest hitters. Deep down, though, she totally owns up to the fact that this mess is partly her own fault. She really should have picked up some alternative casting styles and backup side hustles ages ago. The underground's collapse was honestly just a matter of time anyway, especially after the royal princess, Celia, got straight up murdered. A flashback hits her, standing in that creepy manor hallway, picking up super weird vibes off Celia, yet keeping her mouth totally shut. If she had just spoken up then, maybe the shady syndicates would still be running, and her life wouldn't be such a giant headache. Her mentor suddenly cuts off her brooding, hyping up a genius new get-rich-quick scheme. Super easy, crazy fast, and zero sweat. Ariel instantly lights up because, honestly, she's flat broke. The teacher brings up Moon Campbell, dropping a reminder about that insanely pricey reward he promised her. Why not squeeze him for a cool 1 million gold pieces? That kind of cash would keep her living large for ages, without sweating the bills. Ariel shoots the idea down hard. Sure, most people would sell out in a heartbeat, but she refuses to trash her morals for $1 million. She goes on to spell out her strict conditions for taking that payout. Tossing 1 million coins her way simply isn't cutting it. That guy actually needs to prove he isn't trash anymore, or she's rejecting his charity permanently. Her teacher isn't letting it go, leaning in to push the envelope. 1 million pieces is life-changing cash, she teases, practically daring the girl to picture a massive 2 million coin buyout instead. Ariel doesn't even flinch, swearing she would reject a 2 million payout just as fast. Even 10 million wouldn't sway her. It is entirely about his vibe and her personal boundaries. The mentor visibly deflates at that stubborn logic. Such a total waste, she sighs, pointing out how genuinely raw and honest Moon Campbell seemed with her just a bit ago. Cut to Moon, passed out with that creepy dark tome flat across his face, while the mentor's voiceover keeps playing. She swears the dude has legitimately turned his life around. Right as the camera pans over his absolutely wrecked, sleep-deprived body, after intensely grinding magic, we jump back to St. Mary Academy. Fast forward a couple of hours, and the sun is already up. Professor Prank, totally obsessed with his dawn strolls, was busy hyping himself up with his favorite catchphrase, "Hard work pays off." Sweeping his gaze across the campus track, he realized the whole workout zone was completely dead. Back in his day, top-tier Imperial elites hit the gym way before dawn, but these modern freshmen were nowhere to be found. These new kids just do not have that dog in them. With merely 2 hours left before the grand opening assembly, every single student was still snoring away. What a massive letdown. Right in the middle of his mental rant, a blur sped right past him. It was actually Moon, crushing a morning jog. The old man couldn't clock the kid's face at first, just absolutely stunned to see anyone voluntarily sweating at this hour. He smiled to himself, totally convinced that this kind of strict grind set is what breeds actual legends. Any pupil hitting the track at sunrise definitely earns massive respect. He even mentally bookmarked a plan to drag this superstar on stage later for a public shoutout. It would be the perfect slap in the face to wake up all these lazy slackers and prove real grit still exists. That is exactly the kind of alpha energy needed to inspire everyone else. Prank yelled out to the mystery runner, demanding a name. Moon effortlessly shouted back, "Good morning, Professor Prank." The old man reflexively greeted him back before freezing. Wait, Moon Campbell? The realization hit him like a truck. It was the absolute bane of his existence. He totally lost his cool, screaming, "What the heck are you doing out here, you little punk?" Without missing a beat, Moon casually fired back, "Just getting my sunrise cardio in, sir." The teacher was practically glitching out. "Jogging?" The old guy gasped out. Moon just nodded. "Sure, a light jog will not magically buff my stats, but hitting the pavement and braving an ice-cold shower totally wires my brain for our first day of lectures, and I plan on soaking up every word." Prank basically blue-screened, asking if this kid seriously woke up before dawn just to focus better during a boring lecture. Moon brushed him off, mentioning he still had 3 kilometers left to crush, and promised they could chat later once his routine was completely wrapped. All the stunned professor could mumble back was, sure." Watching the boy's silhouette disappear down the track, Prank's brain was utterly spiraling. There is no way that is actually Moon Campbell, right? You know what they say, if something seems super sus, there is definitely some hidden tea. Since this dude belongs to the elite Campbell clan, we seriously need to keep tabs on his weird vibes. Anyway, cut to the next scene. We spot this chick sprinting across campus like her life depends on it, hyping herself up for barely beating the clock. Creeping the door open, she figures she only has 5 minutes left before her shift, meaning she is low-key tardy. Bam! She walks right into Celia, the literal royal princess of the entire empire. Our breathless runner admits she is running a bit behind schedule. Celia is totally chill about it, just glad she showed up so they can finally dive straight into their tasks. The royal bestie drops another reminder to drop the whole highness title, since on campus, she is literally just a normal girl. Passing over the files, the runner is like, "Here is the total scoop on all the freshmen for this year." Celia actually requested that massive info dump, so after another quick intro, she just tells the girl to drop the stack on her desk. But the curious assistant wants to know what their class prez has lined up for today's agenda. Celia casually mentions she is just tweaking her script for the big opening day assembly. Catching those massive bags under the girl's eyes, the princess totally calls her out for pulling an all-nighter. She guesses her friend was up binge reading some wild boys love fantasy, starring an overpowered, messy deity obsessing over the main character. The assistant absolutely panics because Celia read her so easily without missing a single beat. Yep, this chick is a massive weeb exactly like Moon, but the crazy plot twist is that she is literally living inside a fiction herself. And that is exactly the issue. The princess presses on, claiming she totally does not get the hype around dating fictional bad boys or divine beings, warning her that trashing her sleep schedule is going to ruin her magical grades. If she keeps slacking off like this, the president threatens to straight up ban those spicy novels, since they are completely wrecking her beauty rest. Panicking, the fangirl promises to do better, just to save her precious fiction stash, while Celia gets up to let a massive breeze into the room. Staring out, the royal notes how the spring season rolled in way faster than it did last 12 months. Her bestie nods, pointing out the insane weather back home where it randomly started snowing already. Right after that, she grabs a duster and starts wiping down the dirty library shelves, catching the princess completely zoning out the glass. She pauses and asks what has her so distracted. Walking over, she spots the infamous Campbell catching Celia's eye, instantly making the assistant's face scrunch up in pure disgust. Picking up on the major side eye, the president asks if that dude sparked another messy scandal. The girl confirms he caused absolute chaos, shocked that her boss is completely out of the loop, totally clueless. Celia demands the daily gossip column so she can catch up, while her friend grabs the paper to spill the piping hot tea. Looking at the headline, the royal figures the drama blew up simply because Moon actually said sorry to Ariel. But the tea spiller shuts that down fast, saying that is barely the tip of the iceberg. The tabloids are actually claiming this guy ditched Ariel after getting her knocked up, and the crazy rumors somehow get even worse. Apparently, he was triple timing 3 different girls, treating poor Ariel like his personal indestructible warship. The piece wildly claims she lost 50 pregnancies over him and tried to self-delete 375 times. You could literally see the president winding up her arm to smack some sense into this girl. Thwack. The royal actually bonks her head, making the poor assistant whine about why she caught hands. Celia claps back that those totally unhinged stats and crazy self-harm numbers are physically impossible, asking her how she missed the obvious catch. Right down at the bottom of the page, there was super tiny print, dropping a massive truth bomb. Suddenly, it clicked for the assistant that she completely skimmed over that specific footnote. It literally warned that the whole article was just fake fan fiction from the writers, totally made up for clout, and 0% real. Calling her out for barely skimming the text, the royal snatches the gossip rag and gives her another quick bop on the head. She roasts her, saying she needs to do better research before running her mouth with fake news, or else her brain cells are going to totally evaporate, which makes the humbled girl promise to stay sharp. The assistant then asks if the council is going to drop the banhammer on whoever spread these bogus rumors. But Celia brushes it off for now. The royal pauses, deep in thought about her massive responsibilities as the ultimate boss of St. Mary Academy. She absolutely refused to let that kind of toxic drama pollute the school. There was zero chance she'd let anyone weaponize someone's identity to bully them or push straight-up lies. It was messed up, and Celia despised anything resembling fake news. However, there was way more on her mind. She couldn't forget how Moon had rescued her, so she hated seeing him branded as a toxic loser now that he was genuinely trying to turn his life around. Still, in her head, if that guy wanted her respect, he needed to step up his game way more than this. Earning her friendship meant proving he wasn't trash anymore. Cut to our main guy, Moon, crushing the last of his 3-kilometer cardio run. Back in her head, Celia was certain Moon Campbell, that infuriating guy, seriously had to show some growth. A couple of hours later, the vibe shifted to St. Mary's Academy's Great Hall, packed with students for the welcome assembly. A pair of girls were totally whispering about the gorgeous guy who just walked past them. Yep, that absolute catch was our main character, Moon. They figured he had to be an upperclassman because his visuals were off the charts. Just one glance from him had them convinced he was the sweetest, most polite guy ever. Basically, he was effortlessly pulling anyone completely clueless about his track record. He figured they only saw him as this flawless idol because they were fresh meat. After all, he was already kicking off his sophomore year. Remember, he spent the start of our tale chilling on break. So, these freshmen had zero clue about his shady past and assumed he was an angel. Too bad the gossip mill claims he's already messed around with at least 3 different girls. Right as he was zoning out, Eamon and Gru flagged him down to grab a seat. Eamon was totally shook, admitting he never thought his buddy would bother with a boring assembly. Gru, who we saw a bit earlier, also joked about him actually being on time. Moon just shrugged, saying the event itself was whatever. He literally only showed up to hang out with his boys. That hit Eamon and Gru right in the feels. They were super touched, realizing how lucky they were to have a real one like him. The two of them literally started tearing up, swearing to ride or die with their bro because they knew he had a heart of gold. Ariel, though, was not having it. She snapped at them to zip it, completely annoyed by their cringy public freakout right before the kickoff. Eamon lost his temper and instantly started dropping every insult in the book at her. Moon practically slapped his hand over Eamon's mouth to shut him up, quickly taking the blame for his buddy's outburst. Ariel just stayed silent, letting it slide. Just then, a student council member grabbed the mic, demanding silence. They announced that all the staff and freshmen had arrived, meaning the welcome event was officially starting. Then, Celia's bestie hit the stage to introduce the Academy's heavy hitters, including the current president of the student council. Cue Princess Celia stepping up to the podium to drop the opening remarks for the rookies. And wow, She looked absolutely stunning. The entire freshman crowd was instantly struck by just how drop-dead gorgeous the princess was. A bunch of the girls were seeing her face to face for the first time, and they were completely starstruck. But the hype wasn't just for the ladies. The guys were equally hypnotized, totally agreeing she lived up to her royal title in every way. Down in the crowd, Moon realized he had zero clue she was leading the council. Then, a massive red flag popped up. Celia was drilling holes into him with an icy glare. Once he realized he was definitely her target, he squirmed in his chair, totally weirded out. His friends asked if he was getting sick, but he quickly brushed them off, insisting he was perfectly chill. Up on stage, the princess breathed a quiet sigh and launched into her monologue. Dropping her name and presidential title, she hyped up the new semester, officially welcoming the fresh batch of students to St. Mary's. Listening in, our guy couldn't help but think her words were ridiculously basic. You'd expect something epic at a literal magic academy, right? Instead, she sounded like a standard principal at any random high school back on Earth. While she droned on, he made a mental note to dodge any spotlight from the faculty or the council elites. His game plan was simple: keep his head down, grind his stats, and become the absolute powerhouse he was meant to be. Wrapping things up, she dropped the final set of ground rules for the incoming class. Next up on the agenda was introducing the administration's head honcho, the brand new director for the year. A wave of anxiety hit the crowd, knowing this boss could either be super chill or a total nightmare. But right then, something weird snagged our hero's focus. A booming voice ordered everyone to hold their bathroom breaks. Then, the new principal stepped up, literally a giant pink bear. Yep, an actual fuzzy, neon pink bear was running the show this year. Seeing the quiet crowd, he shrugged. You guys look decent. I'll keep this intro super short and sweet. He casually dropped that his name was Pink Bear, stepping in as St. Mary's Academy headmaster. He hinted Principal Hathaway left for secretive reasons. She was reassigned top secret duties, leaving him as the permanent sub until she got back. When asked for questions, the crowd stayed dead silent. Perfect, he muttered. Honestly, he didn't have much else to add either. Wrapping up, he dropped this gem. Got life drama, school stress, or bad grades? Do not bother me. That sounds like a you problem. He signed off with a quick goodbye, wishing all the freshmen total luck out there, mostly because they'd absolutely need it. This dude was unhinged. I'm still processing that wild speech. Moon totally blinked, completely shook that this mascot ran St. Mary's. In the novel he'd binged, the school's boss was definitely a woman, not some random dude. The real principal was supposed to be this gorgeous, mega smart, dedicated lady. A flawless icon with some seriously massive assets. Moon was just flabbergasted that an animal showed up instead. Hey, don't look at me, that is literally how the original author described her. He just couldn't process the bear. Cut to later. A mermaid was cornering Pinkie Pie for a chat. She called him out, guessing her emperor dad sent him to police the school. She straight up asked if letting him loose would spark total chaos. Pinkie Pie played shy. Chaos? Me? Never. He deflected. I'm a peaceful guy who loves good vibes. Yeah, right. The aquatic princess just gave him a deadpan, icy glare. She pressed him on what massive drama actually made Hathaway ditch the campus she worshipped. The bear joked about her running off with a secret boyfriend. The mermaid scoffed. Let me guess. A non-disclosure agreement? He nodded, confirming her suspicions entirely. His lips were sealed about the old headmaster, only hinting at dark drama he was legally forbidden to spill. She sarcastically thanked him, noting she could already read between the lines anyway. The bear praised her for being so fiercely independent playing detective, but swore he was completely innocent regarding Hathaway. Walking off, she realized this goofy dude was actually the Empire's most hardcore, loyal knight, so getting any actual gossip was practically impossible. His absolute silence proved one thing: Hathaway was definitely caught up in something super sketchy. The situation had to be horribly critical, a massive scandal they would bury deep to avoid the press. Her ultimate theory? Some dark deity totally cursed the poor woman. Flash forward a few hours. Moon stood around, staring at his schedule. At orientation, staff dropped his assigned class list, and honestly, it was painfully long. He figured stressing over basic core classes was a waste. His main goal was reclaiming his lost magic skills, since freshman year taught him absolutely nothing except a basic flashlight trick. While lost in thought, he caught practically every girl nearby, low-key swooning over his insanely sharp looks. They just didn't know his toxic reputation yet. Scanning his timetable, he saw it was packed with sorcery. He had intro to potion brewing, classifying enchanted gems, intro to Fran's arcane concepts, energy, channeling, and basic concentration skills, basically pure wizardry stuff. His 10 o'clock slot was arcane theory with Professor Fran, which actually sounded pretty decent. A beginner's course would definitely review the fundamentals, perfectly setting him up to rebuild his skills. Off to the side, Amin aggressively glared at any girl checking Moon out. Completely ignoring the gossip, Moon felt pumped and ready to crush his very first lecture. Cut to magic class, where Moon is determined to grind so hard that in 3 years, everyone will know the Moon Campbell rebrand is real. Flipping over to the lecture hall, our guy is actually trying his absolute best to focus on the lesson. Too bad it's pure gibberish to him. The teacher drones on about how stacking spells with matching vibes lets you chain them, basically saying you can instantly fire off the next chant the second your first attack wraps up, meaning you cast way faster and grab a cheeky little damage buff along the way. The logic makes sense, but the instructor is dropping such insanely nerdy jargon that his brain is just logging out. Panic mode fully activates. This was definitely not the vibe he expected for day 1 at Magic High. He physically hears the vocabulary, but stringing it into actual concepts? Zero connection whatsoever. Realizing he's entirely lost, he figures he has to bite the bullet and throw his hand up for a lifeline. So he goes for it, flagging down the instructor to drop a desperate question. Enter Professor Fran, the brand new rookie teacher handling intro-level wizardry basics. She spots him and nervously double-checks. Wait, you're the Moon Campbell, right? Internally, she's screaming because this kid is the Academy's most infamous menace, known for sparking absolute chaos. And out of all the sessions, he lands in her debut lecture. Talk about nightmare tier luck for this poor overachiever. It suddenly hits her she was so hyperfixated on her perfectly planned slideshow that she missed her entire class spacing out. Pure terror sets in. If the school's ultimate bad boy leaves a 0-star review on her teaching skills, claiming she's totally clueless at the whiteboard, her whole career is cooked, thanks to his family practically owning both the school board and the government. Moon waves a hand, asking if she's buffering since she totally froze. Shaking it off, she squeaks out she's fine and asks what's up. He bluntly asks why they're kicking off with crazy high-level stuff, like combo casting. Pointing at his textbook, he notes that this chapter literally belongs in the final exams, not week 1. The actual beginner chapters they skipped over hold all the vital building blocks to actually get this stuff, but she just completely speedran past it. The teacher defensively claps back, claiming that textbook intro is strictly freshman year review material. That hits Moon like a truck, considering his entire freshman era was just him goofing off and learning zero magic. But plot twist, it wasn't just him being a slacker. His entire squad and half the room were equally clueless. Looking around, he spots the shared panic and realizes pretty much everyone else had also skipped the mental download. Trying to play it cool, Fran nervously clears her throat and attempts to just push forward with the lecture, but Moon immediately throws his hand up for round 2, sending her right back into a mental breakdown. The teacher was totally freaking out, terrified that Moon might snitch and ruin her whole career. Moon apologized for crashing her lesson again, then casually asked about paying for some one-on-one tutoring after school. She turned bright red, just mumbling about private lessons over and over while some girls started gossiping nearby. The girls whispered about how weird it was for him to actually show up on day 1, since he's usually a total ghost, but suddenly it all made sense. They figured he was totally crushing on the teacher and couldn't care less about the actual class. The guys in the room totally backed up that theory, guessing he was just there to shoot his shot instead of hitting the books. They honestly thought he was doing way too much. Miss Fran caught every single word of that gossip and practically died of embarrassment. Flustered, she blurted out that crossing that line was totally off limits. Looking super confused, Moon was like, "Wait, why not? Are extra study sessions against the rules? Is it really that weird?" The flustered teacher stumbled over her words, trying to make excuses, stammering, "Well, the thing is," but before she could even finish her sentence, the stress hit her, and she literally passed out cold right there on the floor. Seeing her drop, Moon panicked and rushed over to check on her, desperately asking if she was okay or what suddenly went wrong. Barely conscious and totally red in the face, she whispered that they could never ever date. She went on to mumble that being his bride actually sounded like a pretty sweet idea, but tying the knot with her own student was just way too scandalous. But guys, right at that dramatic second, Celia, the royal princess, and his actual future girl, walked in. Talk about the absolute worst timing ever. Celia casually mentioned her patrol squad was just sweeping the campus. For Moon, her timing literally couldn't have been worse. The royal shot him a total death glare. "Moon Campbell, care to explain what's going on?" she demanded. Cut to a bit later. Professor Fran was practically begging for forgiveness, swearing the whole vibe was just a massive mix-up. She owned up to her mistake, totally twisting what the guy actually asked for into something else entirely. He mumbled a quick sorry too, while the princess strictly ordered them to never let this weird drama happen again. She then nudged the teacher back to work, since leaving the kids hanging mid-lesson was a terrible look. Nodding fast, the instructor promised to jump right back into her lecture. Off to the side stood our guy, the royal, and her sidekick. The assistant smirked, grilling him on whether he genuinely just wanted a study buddy or something spicier. He swore it was strictly academic, confessing he basically goofed off for the entire previous 12 months. The dude just needed a solid mentor to help him speedrun the curriculum he totally ghosted. He just never imagined the teacher would wildly misread his totally innocent request. The princess threw the rulebook at him, mentioning that stirring up random chaos usually means serving some serious detention. But since it was a legit accident, the campus board decided to let both of them off the hook entirely. Their only condition? Start reading the room and actually listen before jumping to crazy conclusions next time. Plus, she added, totally crushing his dreams of scoring a private tutor, the faculty is swamped. Between extra periods and personal research side quests, nobody has a spare second to hold your hand. Though, she did pitch a genius alternative. As a sophomore, he could easily crash the freshman lectures just to catch up. With that mic drop, the royal dipped. Her sassy sidekick literally blew him a raspberry before tailing her boss. He paused, letting her advice sink in because, honestly, the girl spouted some hardcore logic. Crashing rookie lectures felt like the ultimate cheat code to fix his grades. But then it hit him sitting with freshmen, would drain his schedule and hold him back big time. A private grind session sounded infinitely smoother. Then, a massive light bulb went off. He remembered his dark artifact could totally clone data from any physical text. The dude figured if he grabbed the campus textbooks and just scanned their covers, his magical journal would download everything instantly. That meant whenever he clocked out and crashed in his dorm, he could literally step inside the journal to run simulations and binge all those uploaded lessons in a pocket reality. Zero need to waste hours snoozing through freshman periods. He practically crowned himself the smartest guy alive for brewing this up. If this hack succeeded, he'd be absolutely golden. Flash over to the St. Mary campus library, where some random chick slammed her hardcover shut. Shivering from the chilly draft, she complained about losing focus and feeling super drowsy. Enter our newest cast member. Out of nowhere, she spotted something super bizarre among the shelves. The infamous rich kid himself. He clearly caught her eye. Wait, isn't that the wealthy blonde tool from the main estate? She mused, utterly bored out of her mind. She figured roasting him would be the perfect way to kill some time. Judging by that wicked smirk, this chick was definitely packing some serious mean girl energy. Fast forward a beat. We jump back to our guy hustling hard at his desk, figuring the faculty was a bust. A solo grind was his only play. He banked on his cursed diary, absorbing the surrounding library data. From there, he'd jump straight into the artifact's pocket universe to cram the freshly downloaded lore. He'd be totally OP. But skip ahead 5 minutes, and dude is just passed out with the tome covering his eyes. His mind was actually chilling inside the artifact's hidden realm, running beta tests on his hack to soak up offline text data from the archives. But panic set in fast, the glitch failed. Sure, the time zone inside was way slower than reality outside. The catch? It was pitch black in there, and without glow magic, homie couldn't decipher a single page. Oh, and that wasn't even the worst part. The real kicker was the zone heavily nerfing his mana, making casting practically impossible. Worse, taking a single step auto-spawned a phantom brawler to fight him. He couldn't turn the aggro off, so reading meant instantly throwing hands. Dude literally tried hitting the books while dodging attacks in practice. But multitasking like that is zero help. Basically, whatever creepy bug or psycho cult is chasing him down definitely wants him super dead. Moon finally gets that he desperately needs a legit mentor, though figuring out who to actually ask is a whole other vibe. But then it hits him, the school rules are super strict. Staff members doing sneaky private tutoring is totally banned. He briefly thinks about paying some external pro and just sneaking off campus for secret study sessions. The catch: the second he steps off school property, some random dark deity is totally gonna snipe him. Knowing he's practically a walking target for dark gods, our guy brainstorms an absolute galaxy brain move. It's just a wild guess, but low-key genius. He figures he absolutely needs a study buddy, but nowhere is it written that they have to be official faculty. A super nerdy classmate would totally work out fine. Now he just has to track down the ultimate brainiac. Scanning the room, he zeroes in on this chick hitting the books hard. Bingo, target acquired. She's rocking those cute circle frames and tight little braids, just totally absorbed in her reading all by herself. You could literally feel the massive straight-A try-hard energy radiating off her from across the room. She's the ultimate academic weapon. Totally hyped by this discovery, Moon locks in and decides she's exactly the one he needs to talk to. He figures the silent ones always have insane focus and crazy discipline. Thinking he's got absolute maximum riz for nerdy chicks, he walks right up without missing a beat and drops a casual, "Hey there, classmate." Turns out, this quiet bookworm is a second-year girl named Sally. The second she spots the infamous Moon Campbell, she freaks out, muttering quick apologies and packing up so she wouldn't ruin his vibe. But our boy stops her in her tracks, insisting he actually has something super crucial to ask. He immediately plays defense, promising he's chill and she shouldn't panic. He swears he only came over because he desperately needs a massive favor. Totally suspicious, she asks, "What kind of favor?" Leaning in, he just drops, "Want some easy cash? I've got this seriously sweet side hustle that you're gonna love. Just hook me up with some one-on-one after school or weekend tutoring, and I'll drop a fat stack of cash on you monthly." Deal? Sally gets super confused. The notorious Moon Campbell begging for homework help? Her brain instantly jumps to the worst possible conclusions, assuming these private sessions are totally creepy and completely inappropriate. Hard pass. Unbothered, Moon just acts super slick and tells her to literally name her price. He flexes that the budget is unlimited if she just says yes. For his trouble, he gets absolutely smacked across the jaw. Utterly baffled, he listens as she snaps back that wealth means nothing here, totally dragging his shady family's complete lack of campus influence. She goes off, branding him a total creep and loudly exposing that he supposedly juggles 13 different girlfriends already. Screaming that she refuses to join his weird harem, she completely storms out in a massive rage. Honestly, he doesn't even mind the creep allegations since he's low-key guilty, but her crazy exaggeration was way out of pocket. But the whole 13 girlfriends rumor leaves him totally scratching his head. Like, who is making this stuff up? Seriously, he has zero clue how that gossip started. While he's still eating dirt, a voice suddenly grabs his attention. This chick walks right up into his personal space, sternly reminding him that causing drama and being loud is totally banned here. Moon suddenly clicks that it's the school's head librarian standing over him. "Wait, Anna? Are you Anna Senpai?" he blurts out. She gives him a quick nod. Meanwhile, our guy is instantly distracted by how incredibly good her perfume smells. With this dangerously teasing vibe, she stares him down. "So, care to explain the little show you just put on, Moon?" He stammers out that he can totally clear things up. Cut to a bit later, the camera literally pans to her thighs. She finally sighs. "Oh, so that's the tea. My bad. I genuinely thought you were just hitting on that poor chick. I was literally debating whether to snitch to the staff or just straight up roundhouse kick you from behind." Freaking out, Moon frantically explains. He promises he's absolutely innocent and literally just tried asking her for some homework help, but she acted like he committed a felony. He whines that he was basically the one getting bullied in this whole twisted situation. Anna just chuckles. "Yeah, okay, I get it now." Total misunderstanding. While talking, she presses her palm against his bright red cheek mark, casting a quick recovery spell. She gently mutters that it'll fade fast, and he's totally fine now. "Such a good boy," she teases. Moon's mind is absolutely blown, because she literally cast that healing buff without speaking a single incantation. Usually, you have to shout out those corny magic words, but she pulled off a silent cast like an absolute boss. He gave her a real thank you, mentioning she didn't have to waste healing magic on a simple smack to the face. Cutting him off, she gently pressed a finger to his lips and told him treating his body right is super important, no matter how tiny the scratch. She warned him that slacking on health would keep him soft, and he absolutely had to toughen up. Totally caught off guard, Moon wondered aloud how she knew his whole deal, to which Anna immediately responded. She smirked, saying it was a no-brainer since he was practically a campus legend. Feeling kinda sketchy about it, Moon asked why she was even talking to him if she knew his bad track record. Usually, girls hear his name and sprint the other way in pure terror, but Anna completely stood her ground. Anna shoots back that, of course they bolt, considering he is basically known as a walking red flag. Girls are way too scared to actually date Moon Campbell, so they stay far away despite him being totally gorgeous. But Anna just bridges the gap, pressing right up against him while casually admitting she is actually low-key into him. Grazing his fingers, she leans in close to whisper, asking if he seriously thought he could play her when she sees right through him. Then she basically corners him. If she actually figures out his secret, Moon is in massive trouble. Moon totally panics, mentally screaming, "No way. This girl, Anna rocks straight dark hair, cute dark glasses, and runs the school library. She is literally the ultimate dream girl package. Except for one tiny catch. She is insanely overpowered. And to make matters worse, she is an absolute master at flirting. He keeps stressing over the fact that she is an upperclassman with ridiculously high stats, all while she just stares at him, grinning like crazy. She inches even nearer, teasing, "Hey Moon, why the sudden backup? Are you getting flustered? I thought you were that notorious player juggling 3 girls at once. Seeing you like this, you actually look pretty harmless." Moon defends himself, saying, "That is because I was never the guy everyone talks about. Those are literally just made-up rumors." Anna pouts. Seriously? What a bummer. With her usual sass, she admits toxic guys are super entertaining, though she has dealt with plenty. She really wanted to see what hanging out with him felt like, since everyone calls him St. Mary Academy's ultimate bad boy, the kind of rebel who makes girls run for the hills the second they hear his name. But she sighs at him. Such a letdown. Because the real Moon Campbell is nothing like the hype. He is basically just a total goody two-shoes. What a waste. Moon clears his throat twice, claiming he is about to get super real. "Even if I look like some clueless freshman who has never even kissed a girl, honestly, there is a total freak hiding behind this pretty face," he adds. "And since you are craving some trouble, as a freshman, I cannot just ignore that. So yeah, I have got you totally covered." Right after saying that, he actually starts stripping, but Anna shuts him down with a quick smack. He figured she just wanted to stop his bluff. Moon then groans, "Come on. You did not have to do that. I was literally just trying to mess with your head and freak you out." But Anna totally cuts him off, admitting she's actually never dated anyone either. She spills that she only flirted with toxic guys for fun, 0 strings attached. Moon absolutely loses it, calling her a manipulative upperclassman totally messing with his head. Flashing a little smirk, she completely owns it, admitting she loves stringing along the troublemakers. Yet here she is, acting all sweet and innocent with Moon, claiming that adorable girls snag the guys. Then, winking playfully, she corrects herself. Rebellious girls actually steal the heart. Moon quickly backpedals though, swearing that was just his sketchy first impression, not his actual vibe check. After watching how she really acts, he realizes she isn't toxic at all. She raises an eyebrow. "Oh, really? What makes me so innocent then?" Moon brings up this one time he was hunting for a textbook and spotted sticky notes everywhere. He basically figured out our upperclassmen here, slapped them up to kill time because she was bored. Those tiny slips had all these helpful little pointers, like saying, to check left and right for historical records, or pointing out exactly where to score beginner magic gear. So he straight up tells her she has a heart of gold, totally caught off guard. Anna blinks. "Sweet? Me? Really?" Flashing a grin, he nods, saying she totally patched him up even when everyone thought he was trash. Plus, he adds, she literally decorated the stacks with adorable cheat sheets so random students could track down their stuff. Even Kracher. He caught her keeping a silence charm active the entire time, just so she wouldn't ruin the quiet study vibe. "That is exactly why you're honestly amazing, Anna," he wraps up, getting super flustered. She mumbles that nobody ever says that. Dropping the jokes, Moon leans in. "Is that right? So what's everybody else calling you?" Anna totally cuts him off. "Oh, so Moon Campbell thinks he can interrogate me? Pretty bold for a newbie." Moon just zones out, completely distracted by how crazy soft her hand feels against his. She caves anyway. "Since you're being so sweet about it, I'll spill," she whispers. "Word around campus? I'm totally toxic. A literal snake." Moon blinks, caught off guard. "Wait, a snake?" he echoes. She smirks. "What? Getting cold feet now that you know I bite?" Freaked out? "No way. That's actually sick." Moon shoots back. "Snakes, hunt rodents, and mice seriously creep me out. Absolute zero riz." Anna rolls her eyes, sighing. "Wow, you honestly might just be prime pet material. But dropping all this charm, trying to figure me out. Let's be real here. You're only buttering me up for tutoring, right?" Moon rubs his neck. "So, upperclassman, is that a yes?" She shuts him down, demanding to know his budget. Moon blurts out, he's packing a solid 1 million coins, instantly offering way more if that falls short. Anna completely loses it, giggling softly. She teases him for being so clueless. "Dude, blowing 1 million on the absolute best tutor around would still cover you for 3 or 4 solid years." Her eyes totally light up. "Are you seriously about to drop all that cash on me? You can't put a price tag on brainpower." Moon yells out. He figures she might be a red flag, but she runs the library and is insanely smart. She definitely holds the insider secrets he desperately needs. Honestly, begging her to be his private tutor is a total no-brainer. He presses her on the rates, but she totally brushes it off, saying they can talk business way later. Besides, you're calling me your upperclassman, she adds. Flexing cash for my help in public would just look incredibly weird. So how am I supposed to pay you? Moon questions. Just owe me a favor for now. We'll figure it out eventually. Moon raises an eyebrow as Anna steps right into his personal space. A favor? Yep, keep it on your tab. I'll cash in whenever I feel like it, she murmurs, basically breathing down his neck. A proud guy like you wouldn't ever stiff me, right? Flustered by how close she is, Moon stammers out. Yeah, totally, whatever you need, I've got you. Sweet, let's bounce, Anna declares, instantly hooking her arm through his and dragging him away. She mentions the library is way too public for one-on-one sessions, promising to show him a much better hangout spot. Cut to the dusty old ancient potions clue room. Moon glances around, totally lost. Wait, an ancient potion squad? I literally had zero clue our school even ran this. Slipping off her jacket, Anna casually confirms it's a real thing. She shrugs, saying it makes total sense he missed it, considering she's literally the entire roster right now. Striking a killer pose, Anna playfully tells him to hang tight for just a second while they settle in. No more playing the perfect honor student. She throws her arms out. Welcome to my absolute domain, newbie. Moon just stares, wildly intimidated and completely flushed by how gorgeous she looks. Closing the gap, she teases, "Aw, look at you. Freaking out again? You're literally blushing." Moon aggressively shakes his head. Bro, no, I am not. Trying to deflect, he points out, wait, if you're flying solo, shouldn't the school have axed this club already? Don't you need at least 2 people to keep a club alive? Anna explains the loophole clubs get a full year grace period before officially getting scrapped. So technically, she's safe from shutting down for a while longer. Pouting dramatically, she sighs about how running a one-girl club is honestly just super depressing, cold, and boring. Flashing him an adorable, totally heart-melting look, she drops the question. So, Moon Campbell, wanna be my +1 in the Ancient Potions Club? Shocked, Moon blurts out, wait, seriously? Fast forward a few hours. Moon is totally zoning out, replaying the whole crazy afternoon in his head, especially that random club invite. He's actually hyped that he finally scored a legit mentor to carry him through. Having an absolute brainiac like Anna as his tutor is a massive win. The actual club stuff? He couldn't care less. Her coaching is the real prize here. Right in the middle of his daydreaming, a massive chime rings across campus. It's the school's magical intercom system, broadcasting to the entire student body. The magic speaker blasted a direct order for Moon Campbell to hit the student council room as soon as possible. Moon instantly panics. Getting dragged to the council is literally never a good thing. Cut to the suffocatingly quiet council office with him and Celia. She's just silently sipping her tea, creating hardcore awkward tension. He realizes she hasn't dropped a single word since he walked through the door. That is totally her vibe. Straight up ice queen. She just keeps quietly sipping her tea. Moon finally speaks up. Yo, Celia, what is up with the random meetup? She says sorry for dragging him out, but promises to keep it real and skip the small talk. She drops a massive bomb. There is fresh gossip about someone getting creeped on at campus, and his name is currently being tossed around as the main suspect. Moon is absolutely shook. Creeping on someone? No way, he thinks. It instantly hits him that the chick who smacked him probably snitched. She totally twisted his begging for one-on-one tutoring into something crazy shady. Moon plays dumb, swearing he is completely out of the loop. He claims he pulled an all-nighter hitting the books and knows literally nothing. Celia gives him a serious look. For real, Moon? You literally studied all night? He nods, sticking firmly to his story. He doubles down on the study excuse, acting super righteous, saying any dude acting like a creep in broad daylight is straight up trash. Moon promises to totally back her up and help figure this whole mess out. He plays the superhero card, saying dudes have absolutely zero right to treat girls like that. Oh, really? Celia asks, casually twirling a piece of her hair. She drops the mic. I literally never said the victim was a girl. Dude, I never gave a gender. Why did your mind jump straight to a chick? Moon is completely and utterly stumped. She slides him a file packed with all the juicy details. Skimming it, Moon realizes the drama is actually about some stolen undies. Celia points out that since he is currently crashing at the guys' dorms now, he might have heard some whispers. She brought him in because he basically knows everyone on campus. Moon swears he is totally clueless and innocent, admitting the whole vibe of this mystery is super weird. but he casually mentions that the campus guys acting thirsty and trying to snatch girls' clothes is not exactly a shocker. He calls it basic bro behavior. Out of nowhere, Celia pivots and asks if he wants to grab a beverage. He is super lost 1 second there discussing campus crimes, and the next she is literally playing barista. Keeping her completely deadpan expression, Celia seriously pushes the offer, asking again what he wants to sip on. She mentions it is a bummer she is out of that fancy dark tea his family makes. Moon instantly feels bad and says sorry for the whole super awkward tea incident from before. He tells her he will just match whatever she is having. Celia goes with coffee, and soon enough, the mugs are hot and ready. Moon is totally blown away, hyping up her brewing skills as completely top tier. She totally shrugs off the praise, saying literally anyone can do it by just dumping hot water over some beans. It is zero superpower. Then she proceeds to dump 3 massive scoops of sugar in her mug, showing Moon she has a massive sweet tooth. Celia casually defends her huge sugar rush, claiming it just makes the brew taste way better. Moon thinks to himself that for such a super fitness-obsessed girl, that is an insane amount of sweetness for 1 cup. He just shrugs it off and takes a sip of his own. He figures, since she is dumping that much sugar in, she must definitely be a hardcore dessert fan. Note to self, bring her chocolates or some snacks next time. It would totally be a chill way to score some easy points. Out of nowhere, Celia drops a random, "My bad, Moon." He is fully caught off guard again. Wait, for what? Looking a little awkward, she explains she feels bad for dragging him out of class earlier, without letting him explain his side first. Moon waves it off, telling her not to sweat it since that whole drama with Professor Fran was just a massive mix-up. He adds that she is totally overthinking something so completely low-key, but Celia stands her ground, saying she messed up and apologizing is just how she rolls because of her upbringing. She then hits him with one last wild plot twist. She wants to know if he is down to join the student council. Moon's brain short-circuits again. Are you literally kidding? You want me on the council? She nods, yes, prompting him to ask what the actual catch is. Celia breaks it down. Everyone on campus hates his guts because of his old toxic behavior, but he is trying to glow up. Joining the council would totally rebrand his image, making him look legit, since he would be repping the Empire's elite squad. It would prove to all the haters that he has completely flipped the script on his life. It is basically her way of boosting his redemption arc. Moon, though, claps back saying he actually read the rulebook, and the guidelines straight up say that to get a seat at that council table, you basically needed crazy VIP perks and had to rank in the top 20 overall just to submit an application. Giving him a council seat meant Celia was pulling massive strings and totally ignoring every single school rule for him. She brushed off the red tape, basically saying if he seriously wanted a redemption arc, he needed to prove it. Stepping up to the plate guaranteed him that exclusive spot on her elite team. Looking him dead in the eye, she questioned if he had genuinely changed his toxic ways. He practically yelled back, insisting he was trying to grow, but joining her exclusive squad wouldn't fix his current mess. Reminding her that the whole campus despised him, he pointed out his reputation as nothing but a chaotic, out-of-control troublemaker. The guy literally spent 12 months figuring out one basic glow-in-the-dark magic trick. Tagging along with her would only drag her reputation through the mud. Given how incredibly awful his track record looked, everyone thought he was absolute trash. Taking a chill sip of her latte, she just asked if she looked bothered. Letting the haters talk didn't faze her, but before she could finish, he loudly blurted out how much she mattered. He kept rambling about the awful time he spiked her drink, swearing it was a massive accident, but admitting that his epic screw-up completely wrecked her public standing anyway. Reminding her of her royal status, he stressed she was the literal next in line to rule the entire continent. Being linked to him was pure social suicide. To avoid endless drama, he suggested breaking off their whole arranged marriage situation entirely. Their whole fake romance was completely staged from day one anyway, never meant to go the distance. His heart was set on Anne. Sounding super emotional, he begged the princess to remember the massive mess he already caused. Dragging her into more chaos and ruining her pristine vibe was the last thing he ever wanted to do. Hoping she would thrive meant keeping a massive distance from his toxic self. She just stared as he spilled his guts. Honestly, shocked by his sudden character development, she cleared her throat to brush off the heavy awkwardness. Framing it as a totally optional offer, she made it clear he could reject the royal pitch without any hard feelings. So grateful she let it slide, he gave a quick nod of appreciation and asked to dip out. Giving him the green light, she dismissed him, letting the guy finally escape the tense atmosphere. Nursing her drink, she mumbled how his guilt trip actually worked, realizing he had genuinely flipped his whole script. Meanwhile, He exhaled deeply outside. Chatting with her felt like walking on eggshells, with her icy vibe making it super hard to breathe in there. Plus, throwing that insane leadership offer into the mix just blew his mind completely. Knowing she meant well and could totally fix his bad rep, he still preferred finding his own path to a comeback. It made sense, since she and Ariel were basically the plot-armored main characters of this universe, while his role was way different. He was permanently stuck playing the pathetic, rich bad boy, a totally clueless side character, with zero actual skills. His massive trust fund was basically his only superpower, completely unaware that he was secretly pulling some Dark Knight moves. Snapped out of his deep daydream, a familiar voice suddenly yelled out his fancy title. Crew and Iman randomly showed up outside the office, checking in on him and totally catching him off guard. Knowing the campus leaders always gave him a super hard time, Iman double-checked to make sure he survived the meeting. Playing it cool, he brushed off their worries and questioned why they even bothered trekking across campus to find him. Crew confessed they caught that creepy intercom broadcast, calling him to the main office right as classes ended. Panicking that he was in actual danger, they literally tried to rally their whole squad to back him up. Their initial vibe was a full-on rescue mission to drag him out, but everyone else chickened out, leaving just the duo. Breaking him out of a literal meeting felt so incredibly dramatic, he could barely process the idea. Highlighting all the shady stuff the board pulled on him before, Iman felt they had to step up as real bros. Plus, everyone remembered how the former president, that psychotic royal heir, used to torture innocent kids just for fun last year. Even though the princess took over the presidential spot this semester, changing the whole dynamic, the trauma from that toxic royal dude running the show made the office feel like a literal nightmare. Crew straight up admitted that getting cornered by that psycho ex-president would have ended in absolute disaster for him. It honestly blew his mind that his boys were ready to risk everything and crash a VIP meeting to save his life. Sure, his crew could act totally brain dead sometimes, but their loyalty definitely hit different. These guys were absolute ride or die homies. Leveling them up now meant they would totally clutch up later. So Moon dragged Crew and Eamon off to a new spot. Amon was super confused about what the young boss was actually doing. Moon whispered that the student council was way too close for comfort. Dropping a hint about his hidden hangout, he told them to keep moving. Crew was totally clueless about this hideout, but Moon jogged his memory about their old kicking spot back in Acro. He teased them for forgetting their turf's nickname. Amon suddenly clicked, hyping up the boss's legendary spot and jumping totally on board. The vibe suddenly shifts. Turns out, this ultra-secret lair was literally just a busted-up, dusty school building that nobody had used in ages. Indoors, Moon was seriously mind-blown to find out that Amon's dad actually fought side by side with his own old man back in the day. It was crazy news to him. He had absolutely zero clue that their dads were buddies, or that this family tie was why Amon stuck around. Eamon figured the young master was already in the loop, quickly adding that it was less of a bestie situation and more of a boss and soldier dynamic. Campbell had basically been a massive lifesaver for Amon's entire bloodline. During his dad's big medal ceremony, Moon's old man went way beyond a simple thanks, actually hooking him up with a super flashy noble rank. On top of that, his dad pulled Amon's father out of danger constantly during those brutal wars. So, when Amon finally scored his school acceptance, his dad practically ordered him to have the young masters back forever and become his ultimate bro. He was supposed to treat him like family. Moon felt hyped, knowing Amon genuinely cared like a big bro and totally wanted to keep that awesome bond going. Pivoting the chat, he looked right at Crew, asking what made him tag along in the first place. Moon swore he wouldn't get mad, begging for the absolute truth. Chuckling, Crew admitted he fully expected Moon to completely forget their origin story. He dropped the bomb that they actually met in a restroom. Completely shook, Moon demanded to know how that even happened. Crew spilled the tea, explaining he was literally just a regular kid from an absolute middle-of-nowhere village. Luckily, a teacher spotted his crazy skills with tech and alchemy during class, immediately sliding him a full ride to St. Mary's Academy. Stepping onto that elite campus, Crew was as basic as they come. With zero backup, weak stats, and basically empty pockets, he instantly turned into a massive walking target for the school bullies. And, literally right as he was about to get totally wrecked, Moon just randomly spawned in. Moon stormed in looking absolutely enraged, screaming at the losers for making a massive racket in the stalls because he completely despised loud noises. The moment those bullies clocked that it was the legendary Moon Campbell, they were absolutely paralyzed with terror. He basically told them to bounce immediately if they knew what was good for them, and those guys literally bolted for their lives. Honestly, Moon just really needed to pee, hence why he cleared the room. But then he spotted some trash scattered all over the tiles. That trash was Crew. Groaning, Crew muttered about how those total cowards only ever picked on the defenseless. Then, Moon just looked at him. Listen up, Pipsqueak. If anyone else tries to mess with you, just drop Moon Campbell's name as your wingman, and they will back off instantly. Ever since that crazy day, Crew claimed he was Moon's bestie, and literally nobody dared to touch him again. Dealing with bullies was super traumatizing, so Crew felt insanely thankful. That was the exact moment he promised to be Moon's ultimate ride or die. Moon was internally mind-blown by his two hardcore loyalists. One guy joined his squad over a weird restroom beef, while the other was literally deployed by his dad to repay a massive family debt. Honestly, those backstories kinda tracked. Even the crazy toilet drama had its own weird logic. Snapping back to reality, Moon told them he totally got the vibe, but it was officially time to strategize their next big move. Looking dead at them, he declared that any clout chasers or fake friends from their old club were totally dropped. It was strictly just the three of them now. Amon, your magic combat skills are already famous on campus. Just grind insanely hard on your classes and workouts from now on. We are locking in every Friday right here. You are going to be my sparring bro, leveling up my fighting and spellcasting stats. Turning to Crew, Moon casually tossed him a debit card, loaded with 500,000 in raw cash to keep. Crew was absolutely floored. 500,000? Moon broke it down, saying that since he was a total tech geek, he definitely knew other broke prodigies, surviving purely on financial aid. Crew nodded, admitting most of them were totally broke. Smiling, Moon told him to scout out those crazy gifted underdogs specifically. He wanted him to chill with those regular students off campus and totally vibe with them whenever he caught a break. If he spotted a genuine, solid person eager to join their squad, he was supposed to drop that cash to fund their lives. Then Crew asked, wait, so Amon is sweating blood in training, while I am just supposed to go around recruiting regular kids with crazy magic skills? Kuro leaned in, totally suspicious. Wait, are you recruiting all these top-tier prodigies just to stage a massive coup against the student council and run this whole school? Moon just smirked and shook his head. Nah, bro, you are thinking way too small. Look, my guys, answer me this one super deep question. What's the absolute end game we are actually striving for? Grabbing them both by the shoulders, Moon dropped some wisdom. High school is literally just a stepping stone. Where do we see ourselves in 3 to 5 years? Someone whispered. Dude, what exactly are you hinting at here? Moon just hit them with a knowing look. Bingo. You read my mind. In reality, Moon was just daydreaming about bagging Princess Celia and coasting through life as the royal family's ultimate trophy husband. Meanwhile, Kuro's wheels were turning. If he and Amon flexed their skills now and pledged total loyalty, they would definitely be riding Moon's coattails straight to the top. Moon was busy scheming too. His actual master plan? Dodge main characters like Ariel and Celia at all costs to secure a zero-drama lifestyle. Even if tomorrow looked sketchy, surrounding himself with ride-or-die prodigies basically gave him insane backup plans and a VIP ticket to an easy, untouchable future. Zero haters and maximum squad goals. That was the playbook. He wanted to be the ultimate venture capitalist for talent. Moon chuckled, loving his brilliant master plan. Kuro's mind was blown. Makes total sense why he came back acting completely different, he thought. Bro is secretly plotting world domination. Kuro spoke up. Your whole crazy vibe finally clicks. I just never guessed you were actually planning to hijack the entire country and claim the crown. Iman and Kuro were literally shaking from this massive revelation, while our boy Moon stood there totally oblivious. He had literally zero clue. These guys thought he was gunning for absolute global supremacy. Yo, what are you guys muttering about? Moon asked. Kuro kept his voice low. As your ride or die crew, this stays strictly between us. If this leaks, they are literally going to chop our heads off. Iman chimed in. Say less, boss. We totally get the assignment. Moon blinked, completely lost. Wait, get what exactly? Am I tripping? Or did somebody just mention executions? Before he could process, Iman declared, I know I'm nothing compared to Duke Campbell's crazy power, and I might be pretty average. But since you believe in me this much, I promise I won't let you down. Starting today, I am going absolutely crazy on my training arc. One day, I will guard you just like the Duke guards the king. Kuro jumped in. Same here. While I keep nerding out over magical gear, I am also going hardcore into business and economics to fund this massive empire-shaking revolution. Relax, boss. Amen and I have got your back unconditionally. We will literally sacrifice everything to crown you. Consider us your ultimate right-hand men on this epic climb to the top. Cut to this wild fantasy. Moon looking majestic on a throne. Kuro playing the genius advisor. and Iman rocking some insanely flashy battle armor. Moon chuckled nervously, processing the sheer madness. An emperor's journey? Seriously? Spot on, Kuro grinned. Iman hyped him up. Only a massive flex like this truly fits our boss's vibe. The actual reality finally hit Moon like a truck. Panic mode activated. Wait a second, when did I ever claim I wanted the crown? Iman excitedly grabbed his attention. Boss, seriously? It is an open secret between us three now. No further instructions needed. Pushing me into the military to grind for achievements, that is obviously your master plan for me to eventually command the entire army, right? Kuro nodded enthusiastically. 100%. Plus, the way you are out here casually funding all the top-tier prodigies on campus, pulling them into your inner circle, and shaping them into hardcore loyalists, ready to drop dead on your command. Once the timing is perfect, tearing down the current royal establishment is going to be an absolute breeze. Not just anybody dreams this big. Honestly, it is such a classic Moon move. These dudes fully believed he was out to conquer the country, and eventually the entire planet. Moon was legitimately freaked out. The fact they thought he was a mastermind villain was wild. He internally panicked. Bro, I literally struggled to cast a simple flashlight spell. My magic skills are basically non-existent across the board. How on earth is a totally clueless guy like me supposed to run a whole country? Are they seriously not joking? Seeing their dead serious faces, a light bulb went off. Even though he didn't want the crown, letting them believe this wild delusion would skyrocket their motivation. This wild delusion was the perfect hack to forge them into incredibly loyal allies. Clearing his throat awkwardly, Moon played along. Well, since you get it, let's keep shopping. Sun is going down anyway. He threw his arms over their shoulders with a grin. Let's move, boys. Time for a massive dinner, and the bill is totally on me tonight. Kuro cheered in agreement, cementing their brand new, unbreakable brotherhood. It is wild seeing former bad guys, Emin and Kuro, totally riding for Moon right now. Talk about a massive plot twist. Anyway, we cut over to the student council headquarters. Princess Celia is just chilling, snacking on some steak with her maids, when someone suddenly starts banging on the door, screaming about an emergency. It is her panicked assistant. Celia is just like, what is the rush? You could not even knock, right? The girl stammers out an apology and shoves the brand new campus paper in her face. The journalism club is spreading pure garbage again. Celia sighs, asking if she did not already warn those editors this morning. Her helper swears she bolted over there right after the opening ceremony wrapped up, but the room was a ghost town, so she shoved the warning letter under the door. Celia asks what kind of trash they published this time. The assistant flips the paper open. These clowns actually had the guts to fake a rumor about a professor, which is insanely out of pocket. The headline is totally clickbait, reading that the biggest playboy is causing massive drama at St. Mary Academy. It claims he got bored, switched things up, and totally hit on the student teacher during a lecture before asking her out on a secret date. Celia immediately hops up. Her assistant panics, asking what the game plan is. Celia casually says she is going for a little stroll and tells the girl to finish off the leftover cake. She also casually dumps all the unapproved daily paperwork on her helper, who just accepts her fate. With the assistant taking over, the camera pans to Ariel absolutely losing her mind at the news editor. She sarcastically asks if the club finally decided to show their faces tonight. She demands to know what on earth that ridiculous headline about her being Monk Campbell X is supposed to mean. Plus, they threw in some insane lies about a fake pregnancy. She snaps, asking how they can publish absolute garbage with zero consequences. Enter the villain of the hour, a green-haired upperclassman named Min Conti. He just shrugs it off as spicy gossip, claiming that is just how the media works nowadays. He even smirks and points out the tiny disclaimer at the bottom saying it is fake, making Ariel scream that it is literally microscopic. She yells that nobody could possibly read that text. Min Conti just rolls his eyes, acting super annoyed and saying he is busy. He tells her he does not have time for this drama and demands she get straight to the point. Ariel wants every single paper trashed and a totally honest public apology printed immediately. The guy just cracks up laughing. He taunts her, asking what she is going to do about it, basically begging for a fight. He smugly guarantees that not a single paper is getting pulled from circulation. He threatens to wreck her if she steps up, then casually thanks her for the insane drama with that blonde loser. Because of her, their very first issue of the year is doing crazy numbers. He even jokes about making tomorrow headline all about how Manel Crazy X tried to bully the press into changing the facts. Ariel practically growls, calling him absolute human garbage. The dude literally thanks her for the insult and tells her to get out of his face if she is done whining. Right then, the door swings open. They both turn to see the student council president herself, Princess Celia, stepping in. The editor instantly sweats, knowing he is totally cooked. Ariel is just confused, asking why Celia showed up. Celia casually greets her, then glares at the editor, stating the guy knows exactly why she is here. Realizing he is absolutely busted, he turns to Ariel, accusing her of plotting this whole ambush behind his back. He claps sarcastically, praising her sneaky moves, before scrambling to save his own skin. He desperately claims his gossip piece did not violate any school or royal rules, hiding behind the excuse of free press. Celia completely tunes out his whining, plops down into a chair, and skips the small talk. She looks him dead in the eye, saying he knows the drill and she is not going to sugarcoat things. While she is talking, she casually starts firing up her ice powers. She lists out his crimes, starting with how he totally ignored her warnings, just to publish a bunch of unverified rumors. Plus, he is actively trashing the academy reputation and dragging totally innocent teachers and kids through the mud. She notes that ruining lives for clicks is a huge mistake. The frost creeps closer as she gives him a total death glare. She drops his full name and literally asks if he has a death wish, because he is begging to get flat out eliminated. She just straight up freezes the guy without blinking. Then, we get a jump cut straight to man bedroom. He realizes today features a sick martial arts elective, which honestly makes total sense. While St. Mary mostly cares about spellcasting, swinging regular weapons is basically an exclusive side quest for folks wanting more than just pure magic. Our main guy is fresh out of the shower, looking like he just crushed his morning workout. He figures this is the ultimate vibe check to finally chill out after being super stressed. He is absolutely dying to see how his skills stack up against the rest of the school. We catch a quick glimpse of that corrupted king mark on his skin before the camera completely cuts away. Fast forward a bit, and we drop into the grand combat arena where Man is chilling with the melee squad. Man scans the room and realizes the vibe is exactly what he pictured. Unlike the flashy magic fights that literally everyone watches, he figured this sweaty brawl club would be packed with mostly dudes. But wait, he spots a familiar face. It is freaking Ariel, and it turns out homegirl also throws hands. She locks eyes with our boy Campbell and is super confused about why he is even crashing this session. Suddenly, Coach Kate starts barking orders to officially kick off the combat lesson. He yells at the crowd to zip it, since the whole squad has officially arrived. New semester rules mean pulling random numbers and throwing down instantly to see who got lazy over break. The class looks totally hyped and battle ready, which honestly puts a giant smile on Kate. He gives the green light but drops a heavy warning that chickening out will end horribly for them. "Let us get this lottery rolling," he announces, calling out numbers 1 and 9. The chosen pair hits the ring while everyone else spectates, and Armin instantly realizes he holds ticket number 1. He is paired against number 9 and mentally facepalms, completely cursing his absolute garbage luck. He really wanted to watch a match first to scope things out, but the universe completely said no. Well, at least I am not fighting Ariel. He copes, deciding to just go goblin mode and secure the win regardless. He literally hypes himself up with pure determination. You tell them. But then his rival steps into the ring, and the dude is an absolute unit. Man stares in pure shock, wondering what they feed this guy since he is literally triple his size. Turns out, the absolute tank is Ren, the beefiest sophomore in the entire school and a solid mid-tier brawler. Man definitely recognizes him, and Ren smirks, claiming he knows exactly who Campbell is and all his spicy drama. Man just nods along, sarcastically saying he is glad to already have fans. Internally, he digs through his host body memories, totally confirming this guy really is the sophomore final boss. Ren actually hit stage 2 super fast last term, and is already comfortably cruising at the mid-level right now. Going up against this absolute tank was definitely going to be a massive headache, because the dude was leveling up at insane speeds before the coach suddenly yelled for them to touch gloves. "Bow down. Pick your gear," the teacher orders. Man sarcastically begs for mercy, and Ren smugly promises a light beatdown. Sure, a light beatdown, just before Ren literally grabs a massive hammer to completely obliterate him. From the sidelines, Ariel watches like a hawk, totally baffled as to why Man is even risking his life here. The wildest part is that he drew the big guy immediately, which is exactly the epic matchup Ariel was craving.